Go ahead and give Councilmember Ward a minute to join us before we start.
Okay. Councilmember Ham,
Here.
Councilmember James,
Here.
Mayor Pro
Here.
Tem Ferguson, and Councilmember Ward, are you
I'm present, thank
on
you.
now?
Perfect.
Oh, okay. All
Okay,
present.
great. Thank you for doing the roll call, City Clerk. We'll go ahead and call the closed session meeting date September 15, 2020 to order. Do we have any public comments today?
No, we don't.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. And City Attorney, do you have any announcements to make before we go into closed session?
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. We are obligated to announce under the item that involves initiation of litigation that one of those cases involves a potential action to acquire the hospital site. The settlement that allows that to be discussed is attached to your agenda. The second item currently involves pre-filing negotiations and settlement discussions with the potential defendant, so we're excused from announcing that one for the time being.
Okay, thank you, City Attorney. And do we have any comments or questions from council before we take a motion to adjourn to closed session? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
Motion to adjourn to closed session.
Thanks, Councilmember
Second.
James. Thank you, Councilmember Ham. So, City Clerk, would you like to do the roll call? Oh, I don't think she's on at the moment. Okay, so
I'll see you guys on over
Councilmember
closed
Ham?
session.
Councilmember Ham?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll see you guys over at closed session. Oh, aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember James?
Aye.
All right, and Ferguson's an aye, so we are adjourned. That vote is unanimous. Thank you. Brian. All right, hello everyone. It is 6:01 p.m. and it's September 15th, and we'll call the council meeting to order. And first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. And Councilmember James, would you
Certainly.
mind leading us? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of the United States, America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilmember James. And City Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Ham,
here.
Councilmember James,
Here.
Councilmember Ward,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Here.
And the first item under special presentations is announcement of Constitution Week proclamation by Mayor Pro Tem.
Hey, thank you, City Clerk. I'll read the proclamation that we received for Constitution Week. Whereas September 17, 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is important that all citizens fully understand the provisions, principles, and meaning of the Constitution so they can support, preserve, and defend it against encroachment. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17 through 23 as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Laura Ferguson, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of San Clemente, California, acting on behalf of the City Council and citizens of San Clemente, do hereby proclaim September 17, 2020 through September 23, 2020 as Constitution Week in the City of San Clemente, and by so doing ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a toll road update.
Who will be doing the toll road update tonight?
I can start, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson, and just communicate a couple of things, and then maybe either one of our toll road representatives can communicate recently based on last week's board meeting with regards to that. The City of San Clemente City Council designated the toll road subcommittee, so that's been reinitiated, and that consists of Councilmember James and Councilmember Ward. We plan on meeting this week to revisit some of the items that Council has directed staff to do as it relates to the toll road in terms of engaging the district attorney's office, to look at some items brought forward in the grand jury report, as well as dealing with the potential of notifying the attorney general as well. We are in the process of working with our legislators as we look out into the 2021 legislative calendar. And then I also know that we will be presenting a number of different ideas as part of the strategic vision for 2021 with the toll road initiative as it relates to bouncing these off of the toll road subcommittee. So that'll be something that we'll be able to report back after we have that toll road subcommittee meeting. That concludes really the update at this time, but I will turn it over to Councilmember Gene James or Councilmember Ward to communicate the recent actions of the TCA at the last toll road board meeting if they choose to.
Thank you, Mr. Sund. Councilmember Ward, Councilmember James, would either of you like to take over?
I can just give a quick comment. I won't be explaining it that much, but the toll road board, each agency took up the issue of the grand jury report that is currently out, the investigation, and TCA had to respond to that. In their response, they decided to turn it into something that instead of a response to the grand jury, it indicates that San Clemente has been attacking the other member cities in our attempt to try to lead the agency or go into a direction that had public support or support of even OCTA, and certainly the support of our residents. So as we were fighting for our residents and trying to do traffic studies and things like that, and trying to get the information out there and participate as we were told that we should, they have sent to the grand jury the fact that we hired consultants in order to help us get our message across and to do our studies of the traffic. So that's all I'll say. I think the residents have a right to know that. The grand jury response will be public when TCA finally drafts it. So I don't have any comments as far as what they're going to say. I did not vote for the response, and I will leave Councilmember James to report how he voted for that.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ward. Councilmember James?
It was just extremely disappointing. I would hope that we would find some commonality. I would hope that we would understand that this grand jury report was a grand jury report by the citizens by randomly selected citizens of Orange County. But the other board members went on the attack against the grand jury. I guess we should be thankful for the Orange County grand jury that took this case up, because it took some of the venom away from us, and they directed it towards these poor citizens that did their civic duty. I'm not going to comment on the report, the draft report that we received, I think today or over the weekend, because it's not public yet. It probably, although this report was commented on in public at the TCA meeting, I'm going to wait till they actually publish it for the public to comment on it. But needless to say, there were attacks on the city of San Clemente, attacks on our citizens, attacks on our city council. They kept on quoting the Art of War. That was in a prospectus. That was in some marketing material from our PR company. It wasn't, and they kept on identifying it as part of the contract. It was that kind of lunacy that really disturbed me. I would like to be confident that we can find a settlement, that we can walk away from this crazy litigation, but not if it means not protecting our city. We need to be aware that, and all of San Clemente needs to be aware that this agency, these board members on this agency do not have our city's interest in mind, not even close. They have other interests. And I will close with, and I've said this repeatedly, the most disappointing thing is the grand jury report points out some improprieties by a TCA board member. And other than Councilmember Ward and myself, no one brings that up. No one discusses that. No one asks any questions with that. As long as that person doesn't come forward, or that person is not identified, every director is suspect. But there doesn't seem to be a clamoring to identify this person. And as the grand jury report said, he or she did something wrong. And that person needs to be identified, and it's why we need to get this letter to the district attorney sooner rather than later. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember James, for that update.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the monthly financial report for August 2020.
Okay, do we have Mr. Ron with us tonight, the finance officer?
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Eric's son. I'm going to start off with a brief introduction and then turn it over to our Finance Services Officer, Jake Ran. And so I just wanted to point out we're providing the monthly update as we've communicated since the beginning of March of 2020 when we went into this pandemic, and keeping the council apprised of revenues and expenditures. And I think it was our last report where we were still closing out fiscal year 1920, and we were still yet to accrue certain sales tax revenues as part of fiscal year 1920. Tonight's report reflects expenditures fiscal year to date. So we're looking at what we've started to spend as part of July 1 of 2020. And I think it's important to note that we're looking at our spend rate versus how it was a year ago to see if we're at least trending down. We're being conservative in our expenditures, which Jake will go into. But one thing that you don't see on this report tonight, and it's on purpose, is that we're not reflecting revenues right now, because one of the things you have to remember is our finance department is completely dedicated right now to closing out the fiscal year. So all hands are on deck to do the closeout of the fiscal year, which will occur later this month, and we'll be coming back in October to communicate to the council the entire closeout of the fiscal year 1920. With that said, we're receiving revenues currently in this fiscal year that are coming in, and they initially come in as revenues in fiscal year 2020, 2021. But as part of this reconciliation, those revenues have to be picked up and basically moved to the previous fiscal year via the accounting process. And so Jake's team is, again, being very diligent in going through that and ensuring those revenues are booked appropriately. Giving you a snapshot of revenues right now would really be a little bit, I think, confusing because it doesn't tell the accurate story. And I know that we've given this disclaimer to the council that sometimes providing a monthly update doesn't give you the whole picture. I think it's important to note that the finance team has always done quarterly updates to the city, state of the city, quarter one, quarter two, and so forth, where we have better timing of when we can report those accruals. But again, the commitment is a monthly report. And so with that, I wanted to give that disclaimer and turn it over to Jake to go ahead and give an overview of the report before us today. Jake, please.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. My name's Jake Ron, and presented with you, or for you, is the financial update. As Eric said, staff is continuing to close out the old fiscal year, which is fiscal year 2019-20. However, the closeout is still in process, and the amounts are being recorded in the proper year, as he said. Unlike, or staff doesn't see a problem in closing out the previous year in line with the projected amounts, and we had some of those projected amounts in the previous report to council. One item that I do want to point out is, you may remember in some of the narrative of the last report, we talked about sales tax and the August receipt being around $500,000. As the amounts came in, just to point out, the amount that came in August was just over $900,000. So basically, our two largest revenue sources for the general fund will be at projected levels, and that's property tax and sales taxes. So just a little bit of perspective there. And we'll give a better update for the new year as part of the first quarter report. However, we did want to give council an update as to the expenditures in the general fund, and that's why we listed out fiscal year 2019-20 for the first 2 months and fiscal year 2020-21 for the first 2 months. As you can see, most of the categories are lower in 2020-21. The only categories that are a little higher were in contractual services and the transfers in debt. And the contractual services are due to 3 payments being made in the first 2 months this year. And last year, there were only 2 payments made in the first 2 months. It's just primarily a timing thing. The payments for the county contract for police services is about $1.5 million. So that's the primary difference right there. As far as the transfers in debt, you might recall that that is primarily the unfunded public safety liability, and the payment that was required this year was about $1.3 million, and last year it was $1.2 million, so that's kind of the difference there. Essentially, I just want to point out spending spending in the current year is at lower levels than in the previous year at this point. So with that, I'll answer any questions that council might have, but just a brief little summary of where we're at, and we look forward to giving a better update once we have the old year closed.
Thank you, Mr. Ron. Yeah, I'd like to see the table for both expenditures and revenues for the year-to-year comparison, because we know what the revenues are. We know they're coming in every month, so that's our snapshot point in time, so to speak. So are you going to be able to bring that on October 6th? Because I'd really like to make sure these reports always show both. And I understand we've been saying for months that there's monies that are coming in. They're coming in, and they'll come in by end of October. But it's still important, especially during this COVID time, that we see both. So could you bring that on October 6th and steadily do that every month with both tables, revenues and expenditures?
We will try our best. Again, we're booking things into the old year, and I don't want to create a snapshot that really isn't a realistic picture, because as we put things into the old year, we have to reverse it in the new year. So if we're only doing, I'll call it half of the transaction, it can be a little bit of confusion from that perspective, but we will try our best to get something back to council or give you an update related to that.
Okay, I'll look forward to seeing that on October 6th. Thank you so much. Council members, do you have any questions?
So I'll just make a comment. It sounds like from staff we are tracking, and we will be closing out last year. I do understand under governmental accounting, it is important that when you do something in one year, you make adjustments. You have to go back and on other items. So it won't be a true snapshot, and that's what we knew we were getting when we asked for these monthly updates. So it's good to get them, but I think it's not a hard and fast amount, a line that you can say, okay, this is our balance sheet. And we do know that the property taxes, they just don't come in when we want them to, but we are tracking that, and I think we know what they're going to be, and there's not going to be any surprises on that. So I just want everyone to be clear on what the update is. I don't think we're going to get, like, you know, this is our balance and this is where we're at. It's just not, we're not able to do that. It'd be nice if it worked out that way on a monthly basis, but normally we get these quarterly. And when the staff reports to us quarterly, these work out a lot better and they're a lot clearer.
I think if I may, Mayor Pro Tem, those are all well received points. I think it's important for the biggest takeaway, and Jake said it, is we're trending to close out fiscal year 1920 with the forecast that we presented in that adopted budget. So we are not anticipating a shortfall. And when we can provide accurate depictions of revenue, we will definitely do so. It might be something that's more accurately portrayed on a quarterly basis in line with our quarterly reports. I just want to make sure that we're providing accurate information that's decipherable to the public.
Thanks, Mr. Sund. And just on that note, you had indicated what was adopted in the budget with no shortfalls, but we did predict 2.5. The staff did predict 2.5 shortfall in revenue for the fiscal year in that budget.
And that is correct, and we are definitely anticipating that we will have the revenue to offset that shortfall based on the cost-saving measures we put into place.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, City Clerk. Thank you, Mr.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, Councilmember James, please.
Thank you. Jake, as it relates to contractual services, that's up. That's the only area that is up. Why is that up?
That is the public safety contract for police services. And again, that amount was about $1.5 million related to that, and it was primarily due to the timing of payments.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, council members?
I just want to thank staff for delivering a balanced budget and bringing this to the forefront every meeting. I know that previously some council members have tried to throw darts saying that our budget isn't balanced, and I just want to commend staff on doing such a great job, especially during this pandemic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Ham. All right, City Clerk, I think we're ready to move forward.
Yes, the next item on the agenda is oral communications part 1, and we do have some emails, so I will start reading. The first one is from Stephen Marshall, and he writes, "Well, she's done it again. Another uncontrolled outburst fueled by emotion rather than logic. Laura Ferguson has once again placed the city in another precarious legal situation by going against attorney advice and divulging information about a pending lawsuit from former city manager James Maxinoff, which is now front page news. There is something called attorney-client privilege, and if your attorney gives you legal advice, there's probably a very good reason to follow it. By making something so public early on, he risked the defense of the lawsuit. I doubt a lawsuit like this would have been kept secret from the public forever, and it probably could have waited. Even though Scott Smith said this is an insurance defense, that does not mean a thing. Taxpayers will still end up paying for this blunder made by Laura Ferguson. If you get in a car accident and your insurance pays out, your premium goes up. Who's going to pay for the increase in premium when the city's insurance carrier has to pay Mr. Maxinoff out because their defense was compromised by Laura Ferguson? Taxpayers. But this could very well be much worse. I am interested to know, and I would like the city attorney to comment on, if Ms. Ferguson going public, when advised by the attorney for the insurance carrier not to, breaks contract with the insurance carrier so that they would not insure the city anymore in this suit. If that is the case, I would say this is grounds for a recall. So much for fiscal prudency. The next email is from Joe Janis on behalf of T Street Neighborhood Watch Group. Dear council members, because of the red tide in April, along with COVID-19 restrictions that closed most of Orange County beaches, thousands of people flocked to San Clemente's open beaches to witness the blue fluorescent waves. During that time, many beachgoers were introduced to our great beaches. Benefits such as free parking on residential streets, late beach closure hours, and lax enforcement policies have caused many to choose San Clemente as their favorite beach destination. Since our city beaches are open until midnight and are not monitored, they have become popular gathering places for vagrants, teenagers, and young adults. Alcohol and drug abuse often lead to loud, unruly crowds. Fireworks and street racing are common occurrences. Nearby houses are filled with toxic smoke from unextinguished fires in city fire pits. Due to the increased crowds, T Street has had an increase in sheriff and emergency medical responses. A random survey of a 3-week period in July revealed the Orange County Sheriff Department responded to the T Street area 1.5 times a day. It says, see attachment 1. We acknowledge that San Clemente beaches are public beaches, and if we choose to live near the beach, we must expect large crowds and increased traffic. However, when these conditions begin to affect our safety and to negatively disrupt our lives all hours of the day and night, action must be taken. San Clemente's beach hours and beach policies should be more in line with beaches in other jurisdictions. State beach operating hours are from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m., as are the hours of most Orange County beaches. Then he references the second attachment. A change in beach operating hours will not affect the use of the trail for early morning walkers, nor will it restrict early morning swimmers and surfers. This requested change will only prevent gatherings on our beaches between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. We, the below undersigned residents of San Clemente, request that the City Council consider changing the operating hours of San Clemente City beaches to coincide with the hours of California state beaches and the vast majority of Orange County beaches, which close at 10 p.m. Respectfully submitted, T Street Neighborhood Watch Group, and it's accompanied by a petition signed by 55 residents.
Next comment is from Jeremy Navarro. Dear City Council member, lately there were many rallies organized by residents throughout California to oppose Proposition 16. Civil rights activists, law professors, elected officials, students, and parents all spoke passionately against Prop 16 in those rallies. Why was that? I learned that Prop 16 was proposed by the State Assemblywoman Shirley Weber, aiming to repeal Prop 209, part of California Constitution, which clearly prohibits the state from discriminating against or granting preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of public employment, public education, or public contracting. Yet the state wants to repeal it. If Prop 16 passes in the November election, it means we, the Californians, allow the state to discriminate against all of us based on our race, gender, or color, and allow special treatment by the state in college admissions, jobs, and contracting. This is totally unconstitutional and against the American value of equal rights. Furthermore, I have learned that the ballot label was written in a very misleading fashion. It says Prop 16 allows diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting decisions. The legislators are playing word games with the voters. They replaced the word discrimination with the word diversity. This is discrimination in the name of diversity. Let's not all be misled by the ballot label. We should all say no to discrimination, and most of all, discrimination from the state level. Please vote no on Prop 16 in November. Thank you. Next comment is from Alan Hostetter. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson and Council. I want to begin by thanking Laura Ferguson and Gene James for getting behind the movement early on to push back against Gavin Newsom and his unconstitutional and unlawful shelter-in-place orders and the many unconstitutional actions that flowed from that, some of those actions occurring even in San Clemente. It was through the tenacious action of hundreds of San Clemente residents, along with the support from Laura and Gene early on, that has led to a much more open and relaxed environment in San Clemente than many other surrounding cities. To support Laura and Gene's efforts in reopening San Clemente, there have been a couple of great developments in the fight for freedom in this country in the past week alone. One occurred here in California, the other in Pennsylvania. First, Placer County Board of Supervisors up in Northern California voted 5-0 to pass a resolution declaring their local health emergency over. This was a necessary and bold action. Although this doesn't end state requirements and still allows Gavin Newsom and his bureaucratic stormtroopers to harass the business owners and residents of Placer County, it's a very good start in seeing the entire state begin to reopen, whether Newsom likes it or not. Placer County was the most public and serious bit of resistance any county has offered up so far. The other action that should give us hope this nightmare is coming to an end took place in Pennsylvania just a couple of days ago. U.S. District Court Judge William Stickman IV ruled in favor of a group of Pennsylvania business owners suing Pennsylvania Governor Thomas Wolf, claiming that the shelter-in-place orders are simply unconstitutional. In his decision, the judge wrote, quote, "The Constitution cannot accept the concept of a new normal where the basic liberties of the people can be subordinated to open-ended emergency mitigation measures. Rather, the Constitution sets certain lines that may not be crossed, even in emergency. Actions taken by defendants cross those lines. It is the duty of the court to declare those actions unconstitutional. Thus, consistent with the reasons set forth above, the court will enter judgment in favor of plaintiffs," end quote. Thank you again, Laura and Gene, for getting behind your residents early on in this fight. We are beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel now. I'm hoping and optimistic there's going to be an electoral earthquake in this country on November 3rd. When the dust settles from that earthquake, with more and more eyes wide open about how close we came to going over a cliff, we will enter into an American Renaissance period where this country unifies, and important, radical, beneficial changes will flow from that. Be optimistic. Good things will be coming our way. Thank you. Alan Hostetter. Next comment is from Donna Vidrine. Our city's experienced a significant increase in city-related lawsuits and associated attorney fees over the past few years. It's been my experience there are often acceptable compromises can be found instead of costly, lengthy litigation. A current example is a lawsuit the city has recently engaged in to take away as eminent domain the property at the corner of Veracruz and Pico. The cost to the city for court costs and attorney fees are estimated to be $400,000 to $750,000 for a property with estimated value of $20,000. And for what purpose? The property is zoned as open space. It was recently sold and bought. If the city had an interest in this property, why did the city not purchase or obtain the property at its sale price of $20,000? Please review this decision and the reasons for this court case. The city and the city attorney can study ways to reduce litigation with high court costs and attorney fees. We need to navigate the current financial crisis without unduly impacting city assets. Our new city manager will be critical in accomplishing this. All of San Clemente is united in reopening schools and businesses safely and responsibly. Economic recovery requires each of us to take action and do our part to reopen safely by protecting others and ourselves. We all want to help small businesses experience financial difficulties as a result of COVID-19. Continue permits for outside dining, signage to promote business to tourists and us. Bring the trolley back year-long to promote tourism and decrease parking and traffic problems. Listen to business owners. Keep communications open. Be responsible to all San Clemente business. Opportunity for all. We can achieve great things when we all work together for a better San Clemente. Donna Badrine, San Clemente, 20-year resident and business owner. Next comment is from Chris Herron. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. I can't stress enough the importance of not only monitoring what seems to be an increased number of homelessness in San Clemente, but I'm writing you in particular because of those who are setting up encampments on our hillsides where this should not be tolerated, especially during our high fire season. All you have to do is look at the astronomical number of concurrent fires going on in our state today, not to speak of the number of lives that have been lost, the homes and structures that have burned down, people whose lives have been tragically disrupted in the horror they've experienced, along with their children and animals. Isn't this enough of a reminder with how the city needs to be proactive and more stringent when dealing with the homelessness and their encampments in our canyons today? Are all of the entire shelters in Orange County completely full, or is it the homeless' choice not wanting the confinement and structure of living and having to follow the rules? It is a fire awaiting, simply put, just a matter of time, particularly in the Pico Marblehead Canyon. I'm requesting an urgent plea as I continually monitor the Bobcat fire on a daily basis. I well remember the San Clemente fires 40 plus years ago, even though the start was from obvious other reasons, but vivid memories of my parents' home that was saved at the top of Presidio, while the house across the street and several other Broadmoor homes were lost. A sad reminder of what can happen today. Having grown up in Arcadia and seeing all the live footage on TV and Twitter, my childhood home and neighborhood streets where as kids would ride our bicycles and play, all now being evacuated for the third straight day, not to speak of personally having family and dear friends' lives and homes affected by the Oregon fires, one being my dearest friend's dad, who lost everything in his assisted living facility when the entire structure burned down to the ground last week in Medford. I'm curious, what is it going to take for the city to routinely monitor the encampments and enforce our ordinances rather than waiting for a San Clemente resident to call in with a complaint to those living in the dry brush, along with the propane tanks in their makeshift kitchens? This isn't a matter of ranting on homelessness. This is a matter of safety for all and the importance of routine monitoring. It seems that when law enforcement asks these homeless, often perpetrators, to leave, it's usually a matter of days, sometimes hours, when the homeless are back to setting up again, either in the same place or nearby. If manpower is needed to help facilitate this routine monitoring, I'd personally be happy to help, along with several others I know who would do the same. This is not a time to wait and see and then deal with some tragedy, but should be a time for zero tolerance to do this now. Please make this a priority. Final comment is from Warren Badrine. In the interest of solving the homeless situation, I would caution council members to communicate constructively and accurately. Phrases like criminal vagrants are not only unhelpful, but in this case, the phrase is incorrect and misleading. The circuit court has clearly told us our city cannot criminalize indigent homeless people for sleeping outdoors if nothing else is available for them. Our city needs a solution. Homeless people bedding down on public lawns and in doorways, crapping in the alleys is not good for the people involved, for our citizens, for our businesses, or for the image we present to our tourists. They need a place to stay. Our city needs a transitional shelter so that our homeless can be indoors, diagnosed, and helped into treatment. There are funded programs within our city for mental treatment, addiction treatment, alcohol recovery, and the mainstreaming of workers and families. Get this fixed. An organization wants to build a transitional shelter and has acquired property at Pico and Veracruz. Our city is trying to seize this property by eminent domain, and this has embroiled us in yet another lawsuit. Stop trying to seize private property in the lawsuit. Allow the transitional shelter lead, follow, or get out of the way. And I believe that is all I have for public comments for oral communications.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda, request to waive reading in full of all resolutions and ordinances.
Do we have a
So
motion
moved.
to waive reading?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Ham. Thank you, Councilmember James. Let's ready to vote. City Clerk?
Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is a closed session report from the city attorney.
Thanks, Madam Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The City Council took the following reportable action in closed session. On a unanimous vote, the council voted to initiate nuisance abatement proceedings on 715 Avenida Colombo. The motion was made by Councilmember Ward, seconded by James, and carried unanimously. That's the reportable action taken. Thank you.
Okay. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion without discussion unless council staff or the public request removal of an item for separate discussion and action. And I do have one email to read on item 6D.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. I'd like to pull the minutes of September 1st, 2020, and item 6I.
And Mayor Pro Tem, in regards to 6D, I will have to recuse myself because I live within 300 feet of the area in question.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember James, for noting that.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Councilmember Ward. I would like to pull item G.
Okay. Are there any other items to be pulled? Hearing none, would anyone like to make a motion to move the balance of the consent calendar?
I'll move the balance.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ward, and I'll second that.
Second.
All right, City Clerk, would you like to do the roll call?
Yes, I didn't hear the second on that. Who was that?
I got that first. It was Ferguson.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Councilmember Ham. Councilmember James.
Aye, with the exception of 6D as in Delta.
Okay.
I'm recused.
Understood. Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
Okay. The first item that was removed from the consent calendar are the regular city council meeting minutes of September 1st.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. That was me. And I noticed that on page 6A22 of the minutes for September 1st, my announcement regarding the letter from former City Manager James Natchinoff's attorneys pertaining to his allegations of wrongful termination and other allegations was not noted in the minutes. So I'd like to see those included.
Yeah, I'm not supportive of that change.
This is Councilmember Ward. I would agree with that.
Okay, and is there a reason for that, to not include that in there, since it was a free speech opportunity for me, and it was also a document that was not confidential or privileged as deemed by the lawyers?
Yeah, I think your mistake was made by you and you alone, and I don't think it needs to be reflected in our minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember Ham, but as I noted, it's not a mistake. So if you all are trying to change history, it did happen. I mean, we have enough of that going on in America rather than change history and what happened at a meeting here tonight. Councilmember James?
I couldn't agree more, Laura. You try to change history each and every day. Every time we come to this meeting, you're trying to change history. So that being said, I won't be supportive of your change or your motion.
All right, Councilmember James, do you have any comments on that?
It wasn't a comment that should have been made. We were under direction both from the city attorney and from the attorney from the JPIA not to discuss it, and so I will not be in favor of putting it into the minutes.
Thank you, Councilmember James. I want the public to know that I did talk to the attorney with this JPIA, and it does not change their defense and indemnification of the city in this case at all by me announcing the public news. But City Clerk Bade, may I submit dissenting minutes?
I'm gonna have to disagree with that, Laura, because I also spoke with the representative from the JPIA, and they said the exact opposite of that statement. So once again, someone is rewriting history, and just like every other meeting, it's you.
Thank you very much for your comments, Councilmember Ham. City Clerk Bade, am I allowed to submit dissenting minutes for the record? Since these minutes are the official record and they're not capturing an announcement that it occurred that night, I would like to submit dissenting minutes.
I'm going to make a motion to move the item with no changes.
Councilmember Ham, I'd appreciate if you didn't interrupt while I'm waiting to hear from the City Clerk for the second time response to my question.
I think that would be a legal question. I've never had that come up.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk Bade. City Attorney, could you weigh in on that, please?
Yeah, Madam Mayor Pro Tem, I don't think we have dissenting minutes, but I think that your request and the proposal that you had will be documented in the motion that you just made. And so that's how dissenting minutes are documented, is they're noted as a motion, but they're failed to be adopted. So I think at this point, what would be in order is a substitute motion to approve the minutes as they're presented. But yours will be, your correction, your proposed correction will already be noted for this meeting in the failed motion that you just made.
Okay,
There currently is not a motion on the floor, though, to actually change that.
Mayor Pro Tem, maybe you'd like to make a motion that they be revised and then take it from there.
Yes, thank you. City Attorney and City Clerk, I'd like to make a motion to revise the minutes to capture the Mayor Pro Tem's announcement about the letter from former City Manager James Maxinoff's attorneys alleging wrongful termination and other allegations.
So I'd just like to make a point of order. I already made a motion that's on the table. And so if we could wait for a second and then vote on my motion before we do yours, that would be the way we should be operating.
This is Councilmember Ward. I'll second that. The comments were not part of an agendized item. It wasn't an action item, and we don't put things in the minutes that is not part of the agenda. So that'll be my reasoning for seconding that.
Kathy, you seconding my motion or her motion?
Repeat your motion, just so that the public's clear. Thank you.
Yeah, my motion is to move the minutes without any modification.
I'll second that.
Okay, City Clerk, would you like to do a roll call?
Okay, now let's see. Councilmember Ham made the motion for approval. Councilmember Ward seconded. So is your motion then, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson, was that a substitute motion?
No, because it
wanted
is
to change
it. City Clerk, it is a substitute motion, but Councilmember Ham let us know that he made a motion already, so he recited that, and then we'll vote, and then I'll offer my substitute motion.
Just a point of order, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion to approve the minute.
The substitute motion would have to be offered before the vote.
Okay, then that was my substitute motion. Thank you.
Okay, so voting on the substitute motion. Well, first of all, we need a second. So Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson made the motion to amend the minutes to capture her comments. Is there a second? There not, motion dies, and we revert back to the original motion that was made by Councilmember Ham and seconded by Councilmember Ward. Councilmember Ham, how do you?
Aye.
Councilmember James?
Aye.
Councilmember Ward?
No. Oh, sorry. I thought you said my name. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm an aye.
Okay.
And Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson?
No, I'm a no. Thank you.
And that motion carries 3-1 with Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson voting no.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk and City Attorney, for your assistance there. All right, next item.
The next item is item D, conversion of parking restriction to parking prohibition on north end of Avenida San Pablo. And I will read the email. It is from Stephen Marshall, and he writes,
City Clerk, I'm going to turn off my volume at this time. And then.
All right, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
The view from the top of San Pablo is arguably the most expansive and beautiful ocean view in San Clemente, if not Orange County altogether. It is our hidden gem. To prohibit parking entirely is a huge mistake that will take away a cherished view from all taxpayers. While I understand teenagers running amok have caused problems in this neighborhood, I do not see why law-abiding citizens need to be punished for it. This view is for all to enjoy and should not be privatized for just those residents living in that neighborhood, which this is clearly a move to do. My recommendation is that if there are still issues with vandalism and lewd acts, even with the current restriction, then expand it so that it doesn't punish those of us who just want to enjoy the sunset. There's no view at night, so make the parking restriction from dawn until dusk. In the long term, you could narrow the street, build quasi-park with plenty of benches for viewing, and create parking stalls further down where there is no view for people to access the park. Then you won't have an issue with the parking up at the top. People could still watch the view during the day, and you reduce speeding by narrowing the road. Problem solved, and you created a new park in the process. If actual crimes are taking place in broad daylight, then residents need to call Orange County Sheriff Department and allow them to do their jobs. People having their trunks open and gathering around a single vehicle, as the staff report mentioned, isn't a crime. Please don't punish the many due to the actions of a few. And that's all I have, unless the Deputy City Clerk Campanolo has received more.
Have we received any more comments?
I have not received any additional comments.
Okay, thank you very much. And Council, do you have any discussion on this that you'd like to have? Or any questions of staff?
I'll move the item if there's no questions.
Perfect. We have a second? I'll second your motion, Councilmember Ham. City Clerk, would you like to do roll call?
Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Councilmember Ham. Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
And Councilmember James is abstaining. So the motion carries 3-0-1.
Okay. Thank you, City Clerk.
Okay, and the next item is item G, the Human Affairs Committee Fiscal Year 2021 Annual Work Plan.
So this is Councilmember Ward. I pulled that item, and I believe we have the chair of that committee, Paula Cole, is also on the line. I want to comment that we have a great group of people on this committee that really want to get involved and be able to educate the public on what services are out there for public needs. And they had a wide range of items that they wanted to consider. What I want to bring out is I want to kind of go over the reasons why the committee is formed, and I think better ways or maybe an action plan that they could do that would really get everything updated of the needs for our city, for our residents. The purpose of the Human Affairs is to act as a catalyst in the assessment of human needs and issues within the city of San Clemente by tracking trends, clarifying needs, and identifying resources. And mainly, I think what the Human Affairs does is the identification of resources. And I was able to look at our website, and there's something like 13 pages of providers and agencies that you can contact for elder abuse, child abuse, food needs, rent, problems with the landlord, homelessness, all those things like that. And I think I want to get the Human Affairs, I think it would be better served if they could reinitiate contact with those different agencies and providers. I think what they've done is they have a work plan, but it has them trying to identify what the needs are. And I think we have so many different providers that are currently working on all the needs, including the county services, especially with mental health, the wellness center at the high school. But we have all the different needs or all the different agencies already listed. But what we need to do is be able to coordinate with our human affairs and get that out to the public. And I think what I would like to suggest, rather than these items that they are trying to do, I think I would like to see if the council would suggest that the committee go through the different sources of services that we have listed already, contact those, and maybe, in this era where we're all doing Zoom meetings, they could coordinate meetings on different subjects with various agencies that do this, and get an update from them what's going on, what the needs are that they are seeing in the public, and be better educated on that, because the work is already being done by agencies that are paid to do this. And I think that our human affairs would greatly benefit from that, and they could come up with ways to, for one, update our website, but two, maybe work with these different agencies and get them together to do, public forums on Zoom, but get it out, and certainly the city will help televise that, and get that out to the public that these different forums are occurring, but kind of start getting people together. And I think that's what the Human Affairs is supposed to do. I think that the work plan that they've done is very difficult to do, and is already being done by, like I said, the county and different agencies. Certainly with mental health, we all know that the county of Orange is in charge of mental health services for people, but there's also various groups that will help with that. And so I'd like to see, and I don't know, Paula, she's on the phone, but I think she's muted right now. If we could hear that maybe that's something that they could do, especially something that would be really timely is the coronavirus impact assessment. I think that if the committee got together and looked through all of our providers of services that we have listed, they could put together a Zoom meeting with different providers and ask them exactly what they are doing for people and their needs, and for the impacts that the people are having in the, because of coronavirus. And I think that that's what the council wants. We really want to be updated on what is out there and how best we can coordinate it and get it to our people. I remember talking to Supervisor Bartlett when I first was elected in 2014, and she wanted to start coming down here and going to different events and have a table, because she said our people, we're so far south from the county that our residents don't even realize services that the county provides. And so I think for the coronavirus, that would be a great thing, is to look into what's exactly happening, and then to reach out to our different providers like FAM, get FAM in there, get the Boys and Girls Club, the different churches in there, and find out what everyone's doing. Because I think that's what's missing. I think that's what the council, we don't have the time to call all the different churches and organizations to find out how they're helping. But I do know, I don't believe we are receiving emails of need. We're not hearing from people. So I am assuming that our great organizations in our city are really doing a lot to help people during this time. So that would be my suggestion, and I wonder if, the council has any comments on that. I think it's a way forward. Certainly the Human Affairs would still process the community service grants and, you know, the high school humanitarian award. I mean, that's something definitely that they should still be doing. But I think the path forward would be to educate themselves and recontact all of the services in groups, you know, about what they do, and just get a feel for what the needs are. And then if something is necessary and we're not doing it or providing it in our city, help to coordinate that, but bring that to the council. So I think it's a different work plan than what they have tried to do. And it's more working with the agencies, which I think is the original intent of the committee. So I'm looking for any feedback from the council.
Thanks, Councilmember Ward. Yeah, the Human Affairs Committee, as you noted, the county services are so far away for San Clemente, so it's been, you know, we've been very blessed to have a Human Affairs Committee for
Beaver does free printings for people.
Over 2 decades. And Councilmember Ham, did you have a comment? Oh, okay. But anyhow, so I thought he was talking. So we're very blessed to have them. And yes, if I like your idea to have them really do more of an outreach, or so to speak, or education on all the services that are offered at the county there. And I do love their work plan. It's just very aggressive, lots of wonderful initiatives they have. It's terrific, and I love their idea of having the sort of the speaker series that they've noted too on the various themes, and maybe, as you said, Kathy, too, some videos of their programs that we can highlight, and also highlight the programs at the county. Have some of the folks at the county be interviewed for, you know, and around town, so to speak, or just mini PSAs for Human Affairs. So, but I see what you're saying. I think it'd be really enrich the Human Affairs Committee, and our community would be extremely benefited from it as well. So I'm for that.
So I would just clarify, I think what it would entail is the committee just regrouping and going through the list and grouping all the different agencies together by theme or need, and then starting to reach out to them. I think the county and all the different organizations would all be willing to meet with the committee, and I think that's a way forward. I just think that's a better way than our committee trying to figure out what the needs are, because we certainly have enough services out there that deals with everything. And I think it would also benefit our sheriff's department, because we would be dialed in to all the different organizations, and be aware of what the needs are. So I think what I'm proposing is just a different approach, that they act more like the catalyst and being able to educate the public on what is out there. And I think we haven't done this in a long time, and years, in fact. And I think, you know, we might be surprised on exactly what's out there and how much help there is. So I think it's a good time to update. And then if there is something that they see after all of that, you know, they want to bring to the council, then certainly that should come to us in a staff report. So I see that Chair Cole is here, so I'm just wondering what comments or suggestions she would have. You're on mute, Paula.
Hi, Paula. Wait, you're on mute still.
Isn't it at the bottom of the screen for us? Just the same for her, left bottom?
Well, it's headsets. It should be in your frame, your picture frame at the top right corner. There's some little ellipsis buttons. You can push it for the video, and then the left button is mute. Oh, well, it doesn't look like we have any sound from Paula's computer. That's unfortunate. Oh, well, maybe Paula, maybe you could email the council and let us know your comments. That would be helpful.
So I have a suggestion. Because we can't hear her, if the council is agreeable, why don't we just kind of take these suggestions and go back to the chair and the committee and try to, set this up and see, whether they have ideas of going forward and how to proceed. And I would ask staff to reach out to them, have a meeting with the 13 pages that we have on our website of all the services that are available. I think all of those need to be updated. And, let's start on that and see what they think about that. I, for one, can't vote for this work plan because I think they would be better served in the community if we did it the other way and worked with the other agencies more.
Well, okay. Well, thank you for your input on that. I think it's an excellent work plan, and that what you were just suggesting tonight could just enhance it. But let's see what the other members have. Any comments? Councilmember Ham, Councilmember James.
I guess my comment now is, and unfortunately we can't hear Chairwoman Cole on this, but I would like to hear what she has to say before I vote yes or no on this.
So that's what I was saying I was suggesting the staff goes back to the committee and we just move this to another council meeting.
Would you like to make a motion, Councilmember Ward, to defer it to perhaps the October 6th meeting?
Yes, I think that would be good. So I'll make a motion that we defer this to or continue the item to the next council meeting, and we don't take a vote except for that.
Second. I'll second that.
All right. Thank you both. City Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
Okay. The motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item is item C, that's I. It's the temporary strategies related to novel coronavirus regarding evening ball field and tennis court operations and allowing commercial, religious, and cultural gatherings in public open space.
Okay, thank you, City Clerk. I did suggest pulling this item to just make a couple of comments and one revision, if hopefully I can get support for on this. But excellent report by Ms. Wiley. Very thorough. We've come a long way with opening up our recreation amenities and open spaces for our community, and I think it's very appreciated. So thank you, staff, for that. I know the report was written prior to the county moving into the red tier, but we have shifted from the purple tier. So on page 2, you'll see the first paragraph. We have shifted from the purple tier 1 to the red tier. So we're, I just wanted to note that. So we're no longer in the highest the risk, the widespread risk. We're now in the red tier instead of purple, which is the substantial risk. And that's positive. So Orange County is hoping to get into the orange tier by the end of this month. I think it's the 29th. So that's really positive, so we can open up even more safely. But I did want to make a notation on the tennis courts in terms of the lighting, because I did note at the last meeting that I've heard from many tennis players and some tennis instructors about the need for the lighting later, because it's getting darker earlier. And thank you, Mr. Sun, for placing this on this agenda report with the ball fields lighting, because we've been hearing from residents about that for about a month. But I'd like to propose to have the tennis courts basically coincide with the same time as the ball fields, which would be 10 o'clock instead of the 8 o'clock, as we're recommending for the ball fields to go from the 8 o'clock to the 10 o'clock as well. So that's all I have for that. Is our council have any concerns about that?
This is
I'd
Councilmember.
like to hear from staff to see.
Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Chris.
Excuse me.
I was just going to say I'd love to hear what staff has to say about that.
Thank you, Councilmember Ham. Do we have, yes, Ms. Wiley, are you available to speak on this?
Yes, good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson, Councilmember Samantha Wiley, Recreation Manager. So the tennis court hours are suggested to go to 8 p.m. That's how we have been operating since we reopened them earlier in the year. And the 8 p.m. hour, they've gone until obviously using the daylight time. We don't see a need to go past 8 p.m. at this point. All of our classes that we're running will end prior to 8 p.m. as well. That was the idea behind being consistent going until 8 p.m. The sport fields in particular, many of our regular sport partners utilize fields later into the evening. That's very consistent. And the sport field lights are only on until 10 p.m. if there's a permit that has been pulled and paid for, versus the tennis court lights are typically more drop-in based. So therefore, it's a little bit of a different setup, if that answers your question.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley. Perhaps I should put maybe some of the instructors, maybe they'd like to talk to you about it, maybe for future consideration, because I have heard from them, and some concern is that they've been losing money because they haven't been able to go, later and maximize the use of the courts. So, but I'll go ahead and do that and put some folks in touch with you to chat about that. Any other comments?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Council members, do you have any other comments, concerns?
This is Councilmember Ward. So I'll agree, we can talk to the tennis a little bit more and try to communicate with them the reasons why we were looking at 8, and then see what their reasoning is for asking for longer. I wanted to comment on the religious gatherings in open space. I think that what we're doing here with religious organizations that are already operating in buildings in our city, we have to do it the same as we are doing with our business relief, that we are doing businesses that can't operate inside, such as gyms. We are allowing them to take up and use open space, our parks, for that. And I think that it's very important to state that this is for official religious organizations currently operating in buildings within our city limits, that we are opening up and making available our park system to them. I don't want to see any new, because it will take away from the available space for current operators. And I don't want to see anyone from out of our city asking to use park space, because I think we're going to be very full with our current operators for all of what we're talking about. So I just wanted to make that change or clarification, that I'm not going to be voting for it if it's opening it up for anyone outside our city. So current churches that need a space, because 25% that is allowed by the state now is not going to be enough. And I know we have a number of churches that want to move outside, and we certainly want to accommodate that. So that's just my comment for clarifying. Also, I just want to say for the public that even though we are in the red, it is important that we maintain that and we keep moving forward. And it's incumbent on the different permitted sports groups that we have, that they follow the guidelines that are set for our fields. And I know we're watching that, but I just, the public is doing a great job, and I think certainly San Clemente is all doing a great job, all of the residents and our businesses, and we're all trying to stay open and keep going forward. So that's just a public kind of comment that I wanted to make. So that's my comments on what I read in the staff report.
So, Kathy, I'm glad you brought that up. I also want to clarify, I think we should be giving priority to currently licensed brick and mortar religious gatherings, because they're the ones that are suffering due to COVID. They're the ones that are being forced out of their gathering places to go outside, and priority should absolutely be given to people who have current licenses that are operating out of a brick and mortar location within the city of San Clemente. So I'm going to support that as well.
If I may, Councilmember Ham, Councilmember Ward, that is the intention with this. That goes for both the commercial businesses that may seek to go outdoors, as well as any type of church that also seeks that. One of those requirements will be to have an existing San Clemente-based address. For a commercial business, they will be required to have an in-city commercial business license that currently exists. And that will be part of our application process and the staff vetting process to ensure that we are not encouraging outside businesses to come in town. Because again, the goal of this is to support our own local economic development and business relationships. That is the goal, and that is staff's intention as well.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem and Council, can I pick back on Samantha's comment and just suggest that if you want to be sure that this caveat is part of this enactment, on page 2, where it refers to allowing places of worship and providers of religious services, you would qualify places of worship and providers of religious services with the word city. A program allowing city places of worship and providers of religious services, and then you would do the same thing in the next section where it refers to businesses. You would have the word city so that it includes allowing outdoor city business operations in city parks. If you wanted that restriction, then you would add those sections.
Thank you, City Attorney. Ms. Wiley, how many requests have we had from churches outside of our jurisdiction to have church outdoors in San Clemente?
We've had none outside of San Clemente city territory, but we do know that we have some existing local churches that are interested in this option.
Okay, thank you.
So I guess I would make the motion that we follow staff's recommendation, but instead of just saying city, I think I would like it to say City of San Clemente.
That's even better.
Thank you. I just think it's clear.
Second.
Excuse me, could you just read the resolution title, please?
The title, so I'll say that we approve staff recommendations, that we adopt resolution number, and I don't know the number, wait a minute.
20-54.
Okay, thank you. Entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, directing the Director of Emergency Services to implement certain methods to support religious and cultural gatherings within the City of San Clemente and commercial use in also within the City of San Clemente in public open space and evening play at ball fields and tennis courts.
And I'll second that with the modifications made by the City Attorney.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to do a roll call, City Clerk?
Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
and Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
I'm a no on this. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that motion carries 3-1 with Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson voting no.
And City Clerk, may I do a substitute motion at this time?
Well, that motion passed.
Okay.
It already carried.
I just haven't, okay, no worries. That's fine.
Is it a different topic, or is
No, it's okay.
maybe it's not a substitute?
No, I made my comments. I'm good. My comments are on the record. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, there are no public hearings this evening. The next item is temporary outdoor operations implementation standards.
Okay. Who do we have for this item tonight? Staff?
We'll have Jonathan Lightfoot, our Economic Development Officer, do the staff presentation. Thank
Wonderful. Thank you. Welcome, Jonathan.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson and City Council. I do have a quick presentation as well, so we'll see if we can get that booted up here in just a second, and then we'll begin. Great. Okay, thank you. At the August 18th City Council meeting, the Council expanded the scope of the emergency support program to incorporate other business sectors the state has directed to operate outdoors and supported extending that program. Council also directed staff to return with some additional corollary information regarding aspects of the outdoor operations program. And this report will go through a couple of those items. The first is clear construction standards for the outdoor dining sections. 2, to allow businesses to utilize the bulb outs on Avenida Del Mar. 3, to increase bicycle parking along Avenida Del Mar. 4, to allow businesses to use neighboring patios, pass-throughs, and alleys. And then there were 2 additional items that staff is still working towards regarding a consideration of a temporary one-way on Avenida Del Mar and a potential expansion of a sidewalk on Avenida Victoria. And the preliminary information on those 2 elements will be brought to the next council meeting, October 6th. So we'll jump to the next slide, please. For the first element here, the design standards for the outdoor dining specifically. And so throughout the staff report that you have in front of you, there's a variety of recommendations, and I've consolidated those here. And this program is already been sanctioned by council, so no resolution would be needed at the end of this report. But I am looking just for your input and advice on these different areas of the ongoing program, and staff will incorporate those as we move forward implementing this. So for design, the first piece of that obviously is the surrounding barrier for each area. And we have a variety of barriers that exist out in the street, and there are some photos provided in the presentation attachment to your report. And we'll look at one sample after this slide, but there's parade barricades, and those can be enhanced with barricade sleeves. There's barricades disguised with wooden lattice. There's solid landscape planters and constructed wood barriers. Staff is also recommending that we buffer, especially the parade barricades with landscape planters, as there has been some concern about vehicles getting close to those, and especially the feet of those elements. Lighting is another aspect of the design, and so staff is amenable to lighting. Typically, through a permanent review of a permanent structure, we're going to require dark skies compliant lighting. In this case, given that it is temporary, I think that we will be amenable to string lights, given the limitation that there needs to be an 8-foot clearance if the power is coming from a tenant suite, so that the sidewalk is still clearly passable, and that lighting be disconnected after hours. For shade, we have both market umbrellas, pop-up tents, and other things, but I do recommend that we move in the direction of just doing market umbrellas for the restaurants, especially to bring a level of consistency and higher aesthetic. For landscaping, I'm recommending that we increase the landscaping in each area and require 1 5 to 7 gallon plant per table, just an easy threshold to navigate there, and something to soften those spaces along the street. And finally, we do recommend sticking to what is currently implemented of only having on-street dining where the speed limit is 25 miles per hour or below, as I have done some research to other cities that have longer standing programs, and that is a consistent threshold. If I can go to the next slide, please. Here's some images that I was just referencing, and a couple stars just to grab attention. One to the market umbrellas on the top left. Bottom left, you see the constructed wood area that's not a platform. We also obviously have some platforms that have been created. And the top right, you can clearly see the parade barricades that the city has loaned to a variety of restaurants. In the bottom right, you can see the wood pickets. And again, more elements and were provided in photos in the extended version of the presentation in the packets. Can I go to the next slide, please? Bulb outs were another element recommended to come back for discussion. I don't see that there's a strong need for additional use of these bulb outs from walking the street. A lot of these are located in front of retail areas that have currently chosen not to participate in outdoor setups. So I do recommend that we just have a higher threshold for staff review when considering any requests for these spaces. I want to make you aware that there's these mosaic tile elements that the Historic Society has collaborated with the DBA on implementing, and there's some concern about potential damage to those when we use these spaces, as well as you can see on the left a bench that's a part of our monumentation program, and so we would also want to be notifying any participants there that have donated these benches of temporary relocation if that were to occur. So my position here is that we really only allow for any use of these spaces if there's extenuating circumstances that require that. So far, we're not using any of these fully enclosed bench areas. There is one half area that does not include a monument bench or a tile that is being used by a restaurant. Let's go to the next slide, please. Increased bike parking, again, from visiting the street, I did observe that this is a valid concern that council raised previously, that we do have more people that are using bikes to arrive to downtown, and so this is somewhat common to observe that we have some bikes attached to trees or posts that are not intended for bike parking. And the largest need is at the intersection of Avenida de Del Mar and Ola Vista. I did hunt down our original custom bike bollard provider, and the information on the cost is in your report. That's something that we can help cover with the CARES Act economic development funds that we have allocated. So we can, the staff recommendation is 1, to acquire a few more of those custom bollards, and then 2, to implement a not as custom designed but group rack to be located either in a parallel parking spot near this high intersection of demand or off street by the library. So I'd love to get your feedback on where you think an appropriate location for that would be. And if we can go to the final slide. It was also raised to look at alleys and whether these would be a reasonable location to expand some outdoor dining areas. What you see here is the backside of south of Nick's and Artifacts that's under construction and expected to open fairly soon. And there's a corresponding alley on the other side of the street that runs behind the Bartlett building, as well as a few other restaurants. And I did note in the staff report that there's some varying opinions on whether these should be used. I did confirm with OCFA that they would not have any access issues should council decide to use this space for an expansion of outdoor dining. CR&R, our waste provider, did comment that there would be some pickup disruption in their operations. Specifically in this view here, there's a few residential units on the left side that push their cans out into this alley, and another container at the end of the alley. So they would have some disruption if this was blocked. I did also hear similar feedback from our Public Works Director that a full-time closure would have some impact on circulation that aren't advisable, but potentially a temporary evening-only compromise is something that could be used to satisfy and meet the needs of everyone around. Again, in this photo, I'd just advise you that to the right is a restaurant, but to the left there is a retail use on the bottom, and there are apartments above. So also a piece of your consideration should take into account those units and what hours you think would be appropriate, given that there would likely be additional noise in this alley. So that concludes those 4 elements of discussion, and from there I would love to take your feedback and wrap that into the ongoing program. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, I have a few questions.
Yes, please, Councilmember James.
So Jonathan, great report, thank you. I have a couple things. Bike racks. Are you going to go with a bike rack that's compatible both with e-bikes and conventional bicycles?
Yes. So the custom racks that we have currently are compatible with both. I also did talk to a couple of bike owners on this topic, and the e-bikes don't always attach to the bike racks that we have, partially because they actually use a key system, and if they take that key with them into the coffee shop, the bike is not operable, so the wheels are locked automatically. So we do see some of those e-bikes not locked up for that reason, that there's a built-in security system, and if someone were to walk off with the bike, they'd have to go back to Murph bikes, for instance, to have that key replaced, and at that point the bike seller would know that the bike was stolen and return it. So they operate a little bit differently, but yes, the current custom racks we have would work for both.
Okay. In regards to alleys, I like your idea. This is a comment, not a question. I like your idea of alleys evening only, because I think we need the alleys during the day for both trash and for deliveries. So I agree with using the alleys. And then in regards to the alleys, I don't think we would want to see, I don't know whether it's 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., but I don't think we want to see dining in the alleys adjacent to apartments beyond 9 p.m. And then my final comment is I still have a concern as regards to safety, and if the barriers we have in place are robust enough to deal with a car moving at 25 miles an hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember James. And Jonathan, I have a question. I know on the fiscal impact, do we have any, just a ballpark idea of what this is costing?
If I may ask for a little clarification, the main area that would have a financial impact would be the bike acquisition portion. The others are all would be implementing or using existing facilities or materials that the city has. For the bike racks, so the larger bike racks that would be freestanding, that accommodate 8 to 10 bikes, are I found a range of $600 to $800 for each of those. And then about $600 is the same cost for the custom rack, but because those are a bollard style that go down into the ground, there's also installation. It would be about the same cost, about $600 additional.
Okay, yes, thank you. I did see that in the section on the bikes. I just was looking at the fiscal impact section, so that's really all we're looking at for costs. And then CARES Act funds could be used to support some of the measures. So not a big impact to our budget, so that's good. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from council members on this item?
Yeah, I have a couple questions for Jonathan, and while he's getting ready to answer my questions, I'd just like to say any implementation measures we invest in our business, we're going to get back twofold in tax revenue from our businesses that are competing and will continue to operate. So I'm going to be supportive of that, even with the costs. That being said, Jonathan, I want to commend you on all your good work. I know you're doing a ton of work out there right now with businesses. I've heard a lot of good things from people out there. Appreciate your hard work. I just need clarification on your bike rack question and location on, let's see what slide this is. There's a slide on 8A-17 where you show all the proposed bicycle parking, B1 through B10, it looks like, on your map. But in your presentation, you talked about just 2 locations, Ola Vista and in front of the community center. So,
thank you for bringing that up. So if I can clarify, on that map that's within the staff report, also available online, those different locations were highlighted in 2016 as ideal locations, and the photo there shows what that looks like. The majority of them are on street and kind of surplus corner triangular areas, and we did not have enough racks to use all of those designated locations. So my thought was to put more of the custom racks in those locations that could be permanently used, and to use the larger non-custom racks at one of those 2 locations, either at the intersection of Del Mar and Ola Vista, or by the library.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. That makes a lot more sense. I'm going to be supportive. I think Jean made a bunch of great comments. I think 9 p.m. is good as well, especially going into the winter months. It's going to be getting darker earlier, colder earlier, and there's going to be less opportunity for business. So I'm going to be moving the item with the suggestion that we do Ola Vista, being that it's centrally located.
Okay.
For the bike rack.
Councilmember Ham. I have one more question of staff just regarding the sidewalk cleaning. Jonathan, could you let us know what we require now of businesses for the sidewalk cleaning in front of their businesses? I know this is for use of the public sidewalk spaces. We'll be asking for a weekly cleaning and proof of that. What do we as a city require now for sidewalks, say, in front of businesses? Do we know?
Yeah, I can respond to that as well. We don't currently require any kind of documentation or evidence of cleaning. If there is a business that clearly is having a nuisance effect, then we will ask them to remedy that. In this case, we have gotten some complaints from the public generally that there is more wear and tear on the sidewalk areas. So we have done a couple of additional cleanings. Public Works has coordinated that, but we would like to shift that to being something that the business community helps out with, where the areas impacted by their use are getting more regularly cleaned.
Okay, and you've talked to them, and there won't be a burden to do this weekly?
So I did bring this up on our DBA call this week with a few of the businesses, and I think the regularity or frequency is something that is up to council on what you recommend there. And one of the things that we talked about on that call with the DBA this week was pooling that effort, and so having potentially one contractor hit multiple locations to help save on the cost there.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. That's a very good job. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Councilmember Ward.
Yes, please, Councilmember Ward.
So, Jonathan, I just want to clarify. Tonight, we are not taking up permanently expanding the sidewalk along, we're not taking up the issue of expanding the sidewalks on El Camino, correct? Because that is a 30-mile-an-hour. It was mentioned that we could consider that in the future, but I noticed it wasn't continued to another agenda like the one-way orientation on Del Mar was.
Correct. There's no council initiation on that information. That information came out of conversations with a few of the businesses in this area where we have some businesses that front on El Camino Real and they don't have the same ability to operate outdoors. And if the council is interested in outdoor operations becoming a more permanent feature in the city, this also could be a future initiation to consider removal of some of those parallel parking spaces to expand the sidewalk on El Camino Real and allow for street side cafes in those areas as well.
Thank you for the clarification. I wanted to make sure the public knew that also. So I would echo and second the comments of the alleyways closing at 9. One thing that we would normally do with Planning Commission is anytime we would close a patio, we would say that it was closed, everything had to be cleared from the tables, no one out there, including their staff. So I think if we're shooting for definitely for peaceful times for neighbors at 10, that it should be a 9 o'clock hard stop. Tell people, last call, you're done, and staff starts removing all of the tables or whatever they have in that alley, because it really needs to not be there before 10 o'clock. So I agree that's a good solution. This is only temporary. A lot of these restaurants and bars, some of the bars, not actually bars, but they serve food, they're able to do 25%, I believe, inside. I know for Artifacts, they are under construction, so hopefully that will open soon for them. But I think we want to try to do this, and I think that was a good compromise that you came up with. And I appreciate you talking to all the businesses and their willingness to try to come up with ways that this can work. I would think that businesses would want to keep their sidewalk clean with the tables outside. This is going to be much harder, and I would think they would want to make it as nice as possible. So I would greatly, when you talk to them, ask for their cooperation in keeping it clean. I think it's currently in our ordinances that they are responsible for the cleaning, but we have been doing it. And hopefully we get to a better program in the future. So I thank you for this, and I agree to the 9 o'clock stop time if we're going to use alleys.
And Mayor Pro Tem, I just have one more. Councilmember Ward, that's you articulated better than I did when I said 9:10. That's exactly what I meant, and so thank you for clarifying that, because I was not very clear there. But Jonathan, I want to go back to your report just for a moment, and that is tents and pop-up umbrellas. So, well, pop-up tents and market umbrellas. Where are pop-up tents going to be appropriate, and where are they not appropriate?
Thanks for that question. I think that a good example in my mind would be that market umbrellas are really the only appropriate use for restaurants. We do have a couple of applications that were approved for uses like Orange Theory Fitness, for instance, that'll be in a larger parking lot area and will be having a class of spaced out individuals. And in that case, an umbrella is probably not appropriate because it'll block that use, and a larger tent would be suitable. And they do have to get a separate permit through Orange County Fire for that, but that would be my intention, that for uses that require a larger single space, that those could use a larger tent.
Okay. And so as we get further into, autumn, and autumn's right around the corner, conceptually, what do you see outdoor dining looking like in November, December?
Good question. I'm going to refer back to comments that Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson made earlier. We're actually tracking very well. I checked our numbers today. Numbers get updated by the county on Tuesdays, and our numbers are currently would qualify us for that next tier to move on in to the orange level. And what that would do is allow our businesses, our restaurants, to move back into 50% interior occupancy at that point. So there's a good chance that we could move in that direction by October. I don't think that it would be a good direction to look at constructing roofing or other elements like that in the right-of-way at this time. Partially, I don't know that there would be the cost benefit and staff time to develop new standards for that when we are going to see restaurants be able to return to some additional indoor capacity, and given the fact that during inclement weather there's going to be a slight drop in the number of people using or going out to eat anyways. So that's where staff's position or direction was coming from, and not looking to expand the constructed structures element outdoors.
Thank you. And so the last thing I have is a thank you, because just to let everyone know, when I'm talking to a restaurant owner or a business owner, and I have a question, and I say, you know what, that's a Jonathan question. I emailed Jonathan. Yesterday, I emailed him a question on the liquor license, and within 10 minutes, I had a response from him. So, City Manager, just know that your guy, Jonathan, is working in the interest of the businesses. The businesses recognize it, and certainly most of council, all council, I think, recognizes it, and I thank him. Thank you.
Councilmember James, echo your support and praise, and Jonathan, keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. We had a motion. I'm sorry, I was going to mention your motion, Councilmember Ham. Did you have some more comments?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I wasn't cutting off any public comment before I make a motion.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do have emails? Okay, great. Let's hear those.
We have a few. So Laura will start.
Okay, the first comment is from Sarah Resendez with Tamarindo. My name is Sarah Resendez, and I own and operate Tamarindo, located at 110 South El Camino Real, with my husband and business partner, Jose Resendez. I would like to address the council regarding item 8A on the agenda and the discussion of closing down the alleyways to allow for expansion of the outdoor dining program. We are aware that there are many issues surrounding the expansion of outdoor dining program. We're also aware that many allocations have been made to businesses located on Del Mar proper and within the Pier Bowl. While we have been thankful for expansions along El Camino Real and behind our property, I am commenting today to ask that you extend the same opportunities to businesses such as mine that are not located on Del Mar proper. We would like the support of the council in closing down the alley in order to provide expanded outdoor dining. The alley is dark, unwalkable, and frankly unsafe. The alley isn't used often, and when used, cars travel against the one-way signs, putting pedestrians walking on Del Mar at risk daily. Outdoor dining along El Camino Real is equally as unsafe, and despite being permitted to have tables on the public right-of-way, we have voluntarily refrained over the last several weeks because of our own safety concerns. The construction of our property was lengthy and expensive, an investment we made based on many meetings and conversations with city planners. During this time, we were told beautification projects to make the alleys walkable paseos were pending, and we were asked to spend a significant amount of money on the exterior of our building facing the alley. However, to date, we have not seen any of the plans for this beautification project come to light. While we support our fellow businesses on Del Mar with talks of larger sidewalk expansions and one-way driving, we emphasize that it is crucial that you give the same opportunities to businesses that are located outside of Avenida Del Mar. If the city continues to put all of their efforts and opportunities towards businesses strictly located on Del Mar, the businesses on El Camino Real and throughout the historical downtown zone have no chance of competing, let alone surviving. We're a local family and have invested time, energy, and money into our property because we love this town. We reviewed the proposed guidelines for outdoor dining. It should be noted that we're one of a very few establishments that on our own accord created an outdoor dining space that meets or exceeds the proposed requirements. This was an investment during a pandemic when we were struggling to keep our heads above water. We did this on our own accord without any requirements because at the end of the day, we are invested in San Clemente. I ask that you also invest in us, the local mom and pop shops that are truly the backbone of this town. We hear a lot of talk about saving Main Street, and I hope that the council can vote to make some real change for the hardworking families and business owners of San Clemente. Please close down the non-functional eyesore alleyways, beautify our city, and quite literally save our mom and pop shops. Sarah and Jose Resendez. Next comment is from Richard Cordato with Artifacts. Hello, my name is Nicholas Cordato, one of the co-founders of Artifacts Brewing Company. We are in favor of the alleyway shutdown so we can actively have outdoor seating in the proposed alleyway. We have a small indoor tasting room located at the top of Avenida Del Mar. In the case of another shutdown or the state requires us to have only outdoor dining and the alley is not open for outside seating, it will be detrimental to the success of our business and we will most likely not be able to survive in this location. I want to point out that we do not have any parking spaces in front of our building like other places on Del Mar. We would also like to point out that all deliveries in CR&R can go up or down the other alley for deliveries. It states that the nighttime shutdown will alleviate deliveries, but we are not in favor of only a nighttime shutdown. We propose that we could have the alleyway open for dining during our normal business hours.
The next communication is from Larry Culbertson, President of the San Clemente Historical Society. Dear City Council, the Historical Society applauds the outstanding job being done by the city to support businesses impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The temporary outdoor operations are extremely popular, and many would like to see them become permanent. We do have a concern with the proposed expansion of the program that would allow businesses to utilize the bulb outs with the murals for outdoor dining and retail. Since 2009, the Historical Society has partnered with the DDA and city to install 8 tile murals in 4 of the bulb outs. 6 more are in the works for 2 bulb outs in 2 corners at Ola Vista and Avenida Del Mar. While these murals are made of high-quality tile, they can be damaged and would be difficult, if not impossible, to repair. It is imperative that the murals be protected from impact or abrasion from chairs, tables, or any other equipment that might be brought into the bulb outs. While we do support temporary and even permanent sidewalk dining, we look forward to the day when the bulb outs will return to their intended use as a place where pedestrians can rest and enjoy the beauty of the landmarks on Del Mar. That's all I have unless Laura has more.
We don't have any further comments.
Okay, thank you.
So before I make a motion, I just have a couple more questions of staff that I forgot came up with my meeting with the DBA. Jonathan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. One of the issues that was brought up by the businesses along the alley on the south side of Del Mar that have invested pretty heavily on the backside of their suites have asked that we look at opportunities for them to increase security so that at night when they shut down, their business isn't vandalized. Have you been able to look into that, or is that something you want direction on us from tonight if we're able to give it?
That's not something I've looked into yet at this point, and I'd love to get some direction.
Okay. One of the other questions I got is there any possibility in lowering the speed limit on Del Mar even slower?
I would like to defer that question. I do see that we have Tom Bonneket on, our Public Works Director, if he's available to comment on that question.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson and City Council members. Extremely unlikely to almost zero possibility. The speed limit on Del Mar is 25 miles an hour, which is the state mandated for business residential. We could look into it, but I'm almost certain that that is minimum for that street.
Okay. Perfect. And then if no one has any concern about adding the security features to those newer businesses on the south side of the alley, I'm going to add that in my motion here this evening. So I'll give everybody a second to chime in if they don't like that idea.
Yeah, Chris, what are you saying, adding security features? What are we talking about?
So thanks for asking, Jen. I'll clarify. So there's three retail spaces along the south side of the alley. One's Tamarindo, one is Sir Coffee, and the third one is Jersey Mike's. And all three of them have some sort of outdoor space located to the rear of their building. Some is temporary due to COVID, and some is more permanent because it's outdoor dining space that they were approved. And so they've just asked that they have the ability to beef enough security, at least in the interim, so that their facility isn't damaged in the nighttime.
How would they beef up security?
So that'd be my request this evening, would just be that staff comes back with any potential ideas they may have to allow for maybe some wrought iron fencing or something along those lines. I'm not proposing anything directly this evening. It would just be a bring back.
Okay.
So Councilmember Ham, wouldn't security cameras accomplish that? Or I'm trying to think what they're trying to do with the.
So the easy one would be like right now Tamarindo has expanded their outdoor dining into the rear into I think it's 3 parking spaces, and they've beautified it very nicely, but there's no security feature back there currently, and so because we don't allow for it in the code, so it'd just be for staff if they see any opportunity to do that we allow them to do it. And so it's nothing concrete this evening. It would just be a bring back to see if there's anything else we could be doing to support them.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe they could use something that would be able, a structure or something out there that would be able to hold tables and things because they're not able to put it inside. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that might work as well. I mean, they have like planter barricades up right now, and so if you're able to extend those planter barricades up a couple more feet to disincentivize people from jumping over or walking over the top of them, that would be helpful. I'm brainstorming now off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's other ideas out there that staff has that we could broaden the emergency code to allow for.
No, we should look at that. And I think, Jonathan, when you're talking to the businesses in the DBA, I think it's important to remind them that the Sheriff's Department has encouraged all businesses to get security cameras. You can get wireless cameras now, and to get that in order to help the sheriffs in their enforcement. So I think, with all of this outdoor dining and moving into new spaces, I think it will be extra important. to have that. I think it's just something to remind them. It's a good suggestion. I think the wireless cameras aren't very much money, and our sheriff's department sure would appreciate it.
Thanks. Hearing no other comments, I'll make a recommendation. So I move that we approve design standards for outdoor operational spaces. That's 1. 2, allow the use of landmark bulb outs on Avenue de Del Mar, and work with businesses that are going to be utilizing that space to ensure that the tiles will not be damaged during that use. 3, create additional parking along Avenue Del Mar for bicycles, as well as additional bulk parking on Ola Vista. 4, allow for the use of alleys off Avenue de Del Mar, and this is a curveball, so everybody pay attention to this one, between the hours of 4 and 9 p.m. on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and any holidays. 5, direct staff to bring back bulb outs on El Camino Real to allow for potential expansion of businesses. And 6, bring back potential security features for the alleyways. That's it.
My only concern is 4 too early? Are those alleyways being used by CR&R and delivery between 4 and 5? But I can go with your motion, Chris, but that's the only piece that I have some concern with.
So I'll modify motion to allow staff to go down to 4 if there's no issue with CR&R delivery.
Great, thank you.
And I'm taking that to second, Gene?
Second.
Perfect.
Thank you. City Clerk, would you like to do the roll call for the vote?
Yes. Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
That motion carried 4-0.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 9A. That's the warrant register.
Okay. We have a motion to adopt the warrant register. Nope, no motion.
Motion to adopt warrant register.
All right, I'll second your motion. City Clerk, would you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
That motion carries 4-0. Next item is item 9B. That's the El Camino Real Esplanade intersection safety improvement.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson. And council members. This is Tom Vonnegut, Public Works Director. I just have a few highlights and comments to make. And then I have Nestor Mangohead, Senior Traffic Engineer, available for questions you may have on this item. So the item before you recommends your approval to modify the intersection of South El Camino Real and Esplanade to improve safety. Staff was contacted about traffic safety concerns at this intersection, and after review of the accident data and other information, staff does in fact recommend a change as described and recommended in your staff report, described as alternative 2, to improve safety. The staff report discusses the 2 alternatives could be relatively quickly implemented, as well as input received from the public and deliberation by your Planning Commission. Based on that deliberation, staff and the Planning Commission recommend your approval of alternative 2 to remove all left turn conflicts at this intersection. And additionally, as noted in your report, staff recommends approval of some red curb on Avenida Santiago to address and improve visibility and access where Avenida Santiago meets South El Camino Real, and that's shown in attachment 6 of your report. That concludes my brief remarks, and as I mentioned, Nestor Mangohead, our Senior Traffic Engineer, is available as he managed and investigated this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vonnegut. Any questions for Mr. Vonnegut, council members? Or any questions or comments about this?
This is Councilmember Ward. I have a question of staff. Tom, if the council was to entertain alternative number 1, which was the first recommended staff recommendation of dedicated left turn lanes, which did eliminate the rear end and the broadside conflicts that we are trying to do here. If we did that, it would take out some of the parking between Santiago and I think it's Barcelona.
Yeah.
And there's a comment that is a current OCTA bus stop. Would we still need to move that bus stop if that was red curved? Or is there a reason why we want to move it back to Barcelona? Is it so that the pedestrians have access to the signal and the crosswalk? That's my question.
Sure, I can answer that. So the issue with regard to the bus stop started a little bit being linked to this. However, in further discussion with OCTA, it's really independent. There's as part of this coordination, when we started talking with them, that was what started the conversation, frankly. But now, regardless of what action you take tonight or no action, we would be recommending and working with OCTA to relocate that bus stop. It's just better operationally anyway, now that we've all taken a look at it. And I think we mentioned that. So it's an independent process at this point, and we're going to recommend doing that. There's already red curb is noted at that location, and it works better, frankly, for OCTA and all involved. So at this point, they're kind of independent issues.
Okay. City Clerk, do we have any comments on this item? Public comments?
I do not, unless Laura receives something.
We have not received any comments on this item.
Okay, thank you both. Council members, do you have any more comments or questions?
Well,
Yeah, Tom, I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Chris.
So, Tom, I just need clarification. Staff's recommendation is to go to alternative 2, but alternative 1 was supported by the residents, and it's listed as alternative 1 in the report. Why was it listed as alternative 1 even though staff's recommending 2?
The numbering is just to stay consistent with how we originally presented it to the Planning Commission. So it's not necessarily to indicate a preference or priority, but that's how it went there. And so we just wanted to maintain the consistency in the alternative numbering.
Okay, and what role did the public input survey play into making staff's recommendation?
It was really, as we, I think, tried to explain in the report, we were trying to strike a balance between what are some competing concerns. The residents in the area are concerned that by taking all left turns out at that intersection, they are going to now have to change up their traffic pattern, move traffic to different streets as they come in and out of the neighborhood. Of course, the business community was largely concerned about loss of parking on El Camino Real. At the Planning Commission, as we noted in the report, it was staff's thinking that let's take an incremental approach. We think we can get benefit from alternative 1. However, the Planning Commission, after a lot of deliberation and public feedback, recommended alternative 2. Staff can support that because that also achieves the objectives, and so that's why we went that way.
So I'm sorry, that last little bit threw me there. Initially, staff's recommendation was alternative 1, but after further deliberation with Planning Commission and more input, staff decided to go with alternative 2?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Thank you, Councilmember Ham. Thank you, Mr. Vonnegut. So hearing no other questions or concerns, do you have one, Councilmember Ham? Or Board?
Are we in discussion for council, or are we?
Yes, we are. We have no public comments on this item.
Okay, thank you. So what I saw was that alternative 1 had 69% of the vote, and alternative 2 had 23%. And I'm sure a lot of that came from the 3 businesses that are on El Camino Real. But I look in the picture for alternative 1, and the real estate office has parking all along Esplanade, and they have parking in the back. And I think there's a barbershop and tattoo and they have parking in the back. And the one comment that I would want to make on the new building in Santiago, I realize that there is a gelato place going in, and that is a great addition. But all of that project was parked on site. They did not require any street parking for that project, including the businesses that were going to be there. So they have parking spaces within the inside of their building, and I think it would help that project to start having the public use the intended parking for that. People could also park on Esplanade, and it's a very easy walk on the sidewalk. It's flat to go 3 businesses to the gelato place. And they could park on Santiago, temporarily to go to that also. So my thinking is Esplanade is too significant of a collector street, and it leads all of the neighborhoods up to Ralph's and up to the businesses. And it also leads to many neighborhoods and directly to T Street, to our public beat. And I think having delineators within the center of El Camino is just, it's essentially a wall being put up. And I think that would cause more conflicts with people trying to get around that didn't expect it, that have been going to T Street for many years. And people coming out from the market, I see this as it's a roadblock, and I see it causing more problems than it's going to solve. And I think the businesses are going to be able to do their business without the parking in the front. The new construction, that was all red curbed before. It was a new curb anyway. So that's not going to change. So I would like to see us lean more towards alternative 1. I think it works better. I think we have to find a solution for the left turns, and I just can't see making everyone do a right turn on Esplanade when it's such a major street. I think El Camino in that area is so busy. I just think we can't have a wall of delineators in the middle blocking it. So I understand, some of the concerns, but I think we need to go with what works the best. And I do understand the Planning Commission tried to come up with some balance, but we're the ones that have to figure it out. There's been enough rear end accidents because there's so many people turning left, and enough broadside accidents. I've seen a few of them, and I think we need to do something. So I'm going to be making a motion that we look at alternative 1, and we consider that, because I think it's the best option. And maybe in the future there's other things we can do down the road that slows traffic, and we could modify this in the future. And what I'm thinking is something south. There's no crosswalks going to the burger place across the street or the coffee house in mid-block there. And I know many, many residents ride their bikes and walk up to these. They walk to the coffee place. They're going to walk to the gelato place. It's going to be very popular. I think it's a great idea, and I'm happy to see it added to 1010 Santiago. So my motion is going to be for alternative 1.
Second.
So Councilmember Ward made the motion, and Councilmember James seconded the motion. Okay, well,
That was Ham made the second,
Ham.
sorry.
Oh,
Ham
Councilmember Ham made the second. Okay. Well, I can't support that.
Without the
Pardon? Is that you, City Clerk? Did you say? Joanne? Did you make a
I was
comment?
just saying, so the motion is just to consider alternative 1. That's what I heard, or to implement number 1. And was it your intention to also include the resolution, just for clarification?
Councilmember Ward, was that your intention?
Yes, no, I'm going to include the resolution. I just was opening it up for council discussion if they had any concerns, to talk about it. But we do have a second. So, Madam Clerk, do you need us to read the resolution?
Yes. The title, please.
Okay, so my motion would be to adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, amending Master Traffic Resolution number 1846, establishing a no parking areas, and it's going to be on El Camino Real, not Avenida Santiago. Is that correct, Mr. Vonnegut?
No, let me clarify. The resolution is strictly for the red curb on Avenida Santiago for the visibility sight distance. We added this in because we were looking at this area, but it is distinctly indifferent from the recommendation one on efforts on El Camino Real.
Okay, so I get that. I'm not seeing it in our staff report, a resolution for that. So do you want us to just, wait a minute, I'm looking at page 4. So I see it now. Staff recommends that council approve an installation of the center line. I'm not going to make a motion for that. I'm going to make a motion for alternative number 1 that gives the city dedicated left turn lanes for El Camino Real onto Esplanade and eliminates the conflict points. And I'm going to move that we adopt the resolution entitled Resolution of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, amending Master Traffic Resolution number 1846, establishing no parking areas on Avenida Santiago. So, Mr. Vonnegut, is that sufficient?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that's my motion.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Ward. And who was the second? Was that Councilmember Ham?
Yep, and I'll second that as well.
Okay, wonderful. And City Clerk, could you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
That motion carries 4-0.
Thank you.
The next item is item 9C. That's an audit assessment of BBK legal bills that was requested by council at the September 1st count. We do have at least one comment.
Before you get to
On
that,
this item.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, since I have business interest in this item, I'd like to recuse myself and not be available to participate with you.
Okay, thank you, City Attorney. All right, City Clerk, can we hear the comment from the public, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Your go ahead, Laura.
Oh, apologies. The comment is from Chris Duncan. Dear council members and staff, as we prepare to audit BB&K's legal fees, we should consider why we are engaged in 2 costly litigation cases with little hope of success. San Clemente does not have the budget to continue to litigate matters that are better handled in more efficient ways. Regarding the TCA litigation, we should focus our efforts on supporting a full-scale investigation of the TCA by the District Attorney's Office, which was requested by our local Congressman Mike Levin, but not by our City Council apparently. This has the potential to eliminate the TCA, resolving the root problem with little to no city resources expended. Regarding the Emergency Shelter Coalition eminent domain litigation, we should drop the pretense that this has to do with protecting open space and recognize eminent domain cases are very expensive, expert witness dependent, and difficult, and that we have a particularly weak case. We should instead let the business park handle its own internal dispute and work within the legal confines of the outcome. If the Shelter Coalition prevails, we should work with the coalition so as to influence the resulting facility rather than just try to wish or litigate it away. Chris Duncan. And that's all I have for public comments.
Okay, thank you, Laura. And do we have a brief presentation of this item, staff by staff?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson, this is Eric Sund, interim city manager. Staff has a very, very brief presentation. So pursuant to council direction at a previous council meeting, staff was directed to come back to the city council with potentially the next steps to do an audit of the legal services and legal bills. And so staff looked at finding some consultants that specialize both in municipal consulting services as well as experience in legal bills and analysis. We found 3 firms that are in the agenda report before you tonight as a recommendation. And then we also included a little bit of a snapshot of the last 5 years of legal bills as it relates to BBK's incurred costs. What staff is asking for tonight is two things. One is to designate 2 council members to serve on a subcommittee to shepherd this process, and 2, to give the city the authority to seek proposals from these 3 firms. And what the staff's intent is that once the subcommittee is installed, they would engage these 3 vendors, and in turn, they would then produce proposals that would be presented to the subcommittee, and the subcommittee of the 2 council members would deliberate on a recommendation to be brought back to the city council for award of a contract. And at that time, we would also communicate the fiscal impact and the funding scenario for those services. So with that, I'm going to conclude staff's report and stand ready to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sund. I do have a question about the 3 that were selected. First, how were they selected? And we don't have any curriculum details on these of who they are and what kind of experience they have. And that's my first question. And secondly, why wouldn't we broaden that net, so to speak, widen the net and capture more companies, allow more to bid on such an audit?
So to the first question is, how did we find these? These 3 firms are all very well established within the municipal consulting arena. Management Partners, if you recall, we utilized them for an analysis of our district election process when the city took that on earlier in, I want to say, 2017. And then also RSG, a municipal consulting firm that's been around for, I think, upwards of 3 decades. And then Deloitte, which obviously I think everyone knows who they are. They recently just developed a new wing of their legal management consulting wing. And so we wanted somebody that can understand city operations and services and so forth. I think that's important for this. And then in turn, we wanted someone with experience in those legal review processes, which all of these firms have done for other agencies. And so if the council wanted to give direction to widen the net, that's completely up in the court for the council to direct staff to do so. But we thought with what we were looking for, these 3 consultants would be a good starting point.
Okay, thank you. And I did want to note also that I think you've seen it, Mr. Sund, but the council received a very in-depth memo from business owner Brad Malamud on his legal fee audit, just giving us some really good input, because that's what he does for a living. And did you happen to see that? Because I didn't see any of the detail that he assisted with in the report, so I'm not sure it made it to you. Did it make it to you?
I had an opportunity to see it earlier this week after the agenda.
Okay, after it was already out. But he does provide excellent input of what should be included in such a potential review, and I think that would be worth it for everybody to see. Well, before we have any discussion, because I do have more to say on this, but I want to know if the council members have any further questions of staff on this item.
Yes, I do.
Okay, please, Councilmember James.
Probably 2 questions. I would like to have the motion read in such a way as the committee that is formed could look beyond these 3 companies. City manager, are you okay with that?
Absolutely.
Okay. And the second thing that I think is important to note is when we look at legal fees, we're thinking that all these legal fees are BB&K, but in fact, there are there not consultants and lobbyists wrapped up in the legal fees in order to have, at some point in time, we wanted to make those services privileged. Is that correct?
Correct. Councilmember James, specific to the table that's afforded in the council agenda report, those are for the most part minus those larger ticket consultants that go through BBK. And I think it's important to note, and we've communicated this in the past, that our legal budget not only funds Best, and Krieger, but it also funds other things that are legally related as it relates to consultants, as you mentioned, subject matter experts, and so forth. So
thank you.
Wanted to be very clear, and these costs were more or less the true costs incurred by Best and Krieger.
And then the other thing is, I think we need to give direction to the subcommittee on a few things, and that is the first thing they need to establish is objectives. And I think in speaking with these first three vendors, we could get an idea of what our objectives should be. And the other thing, additionally, the methodology that we're looking for. And the third component for me would be a timetable, because what I want this to be is I want this almost be a package that we wrap up in a bowl for the news, wrap up, in a box with a nice bow tied to it for the new city council that comes in December this year, and they can start off with this. And, we can either, looking at this, we can go with an RFP, or we can go down another road. Maybe that other road is the appointment of a city attorney. And, maybe we walk away from BB&K. Or maybe we look at this and absolutely, positively, we find out for quality of life purposes, BB&K has done a great job for us. I am open to any conclusion, but I think we need to do this, and I thank council for supporting my motion at the last meeting to go forward with this. So thank you very much.
Are there any other questions of staff before we have discussion, council members?
I was going to make a motion if no one else has any other comments.
I do. I have some comments. Thank you, Mr. Sun, for your input on that. Just one more question, Mr. Sun. Where would the budget come to fund this? Because it will very well be very costly, according to the expert. We can call Mr. Melvin expert. He's done this for 30 years. Where would the budget come from to fund this at this time?
More than likely, it would come out of the current budget for legal services that the city of San Clemente has.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm always for looking at our legal bills. I mean, I have proposed 3 times since being on council to do a request for proposal to see what's out there in the market that we might be able to do differently. And we have spent quite a bit of money, significant amount of money in the 5.5 years we've been with BBK, and over $10 million. And, I just would like to see us, of course, curtail that. And I did initiate the legal services workshop earlier this year that we had, and this would have been an ideal time for this audit to have come up and pursued at that time. But with a new council on the horizon and a new city manager on the horizon, I just don't think the time is right. Later, yes, but not at the current time, also due to it not being budgeted. I mean, the legal services budget that we have now, as you see, is quite high. In fact, it's been consistently with BBK 3 times more than the prior law firm the city had for, goodness, I think 33 years. So that's just not sustainable. And I certainly still stand by wanting a request for proposal over anything at this time, but I do appreciate the desire to look at the legal bills. I just think it's the wrong time, and we need to just wait, as we have a couple of other important matters, to defer those to a new city council and city manager. Thank you.
So Mayor Pro Tem, this is Councilmember Ward. I'll weigh in. I understand, your comments and what you're saying. I hear you, but I think this is exactly why Councilmember James proposed this review, is because we hear often that we haven't done well in the last 5 years, and we've wasted so much money, and we aren't accomplishing anything. And we all are privy to everything that we've done, And we know that we have accomplished quite a bit. And the residents that it has made a difference to in the quality of life concerning sober living homes, vacation rentals, maybe getting the hospital back, all of that, and fighting a toll road that frankly wanted to come down the east side of El Camino Real, and it was going to take out Ralph's, the entire area that we just talked about, putting in left turn lanes. Most of the city doesn't realize that they were going to widen the freeway, and Ralph's and the coffee place and everything along it was completely gone. And TCA was willing to do that for a road that had absolutely no traffic on it, and it didn't need to be done. One of the great things that we did that was advised to us was to do a traffic study. And part of that is in the BBK budget, and it proved to everyone that we did not need to do a toll road extension. And if we had not done that, we would have just been taking TCA and Caltrans' word for the fact that a toll road was needed. So I think that was a pivotal part of our fight to bring awareness to the toll road issue. So what I understood this to be and why we supported it is Councilmember James asked for a review of our legal bills for the past 5 years. And it says in here that the assessment is to identify how much we spent, the achievements that we received for that money, what the residents got out of that, and the suitability of our billing amounts. So it's to review those. I am going to be for this. I don't understand the reason why Councilmember James wants to open it up to maybe other people when our staff has said that these are the people that have municipal experience. And what we've seen before, at least I've seen while I've been on council, is that many attorneys opine on our cases, but they don't understand municipal law. They don't understand our general plan and what we do and what our authorities are. And so they like to armchair quarterback our cases, but most of the time, or almost all the time, they're wrong. They told us that we'd lose the hospital case, and that was not the case. The judge went with us because we knew that we were within our power and our duties to the public and for public safety. So, that's not considered by other people. So I'm okay with the 3 that we have. So I just would ask Councilmember James to maybe clarify what he means by leaving it open. Because if your intent is to try to get this to a new council so that they can be informed with what we know and what we've done in the last 5 years, I don't think we'll make it in time if we don't go with and interview the 3 we have. I'm just not seeing why we would change it now if that's our intent. So
yeah, Councilmember Ward, your points are all valid, and I don't disagree with them. The only thing my only concern is the committee gets into this, interviews the 3 potential candidates here, and I would want to interview those 3 potential candidates, and then we find out maybe that's not what we need, or maybe that's not what we want, or maybe we can do it at a better price. I just didn't want the committee to be locked in. That was my only concern. But to get this passed, I would drop that modification.
Okay. So I think if a subcommittee was appointed and we looked at it, I think if we got to a point where we didn't like any of them, that would be what we go back to the council with.
I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think we're locked in. So I'll make a motion that we adopt staff recommendation we need to establish a subcommittee. And I think I don't even know if this is a motion. I think we just need direction. Is that correct, Mr. Sund?
Correct, and I think it would be also beneficial for the council to designate the 2 council members for the subcommittee.
Well,
exactly.
So I'm willing to do it. I have the time. I've been intimately involved with the litigation, and I will look at it objectively. Obviously, we're not looking at it. It's the consultants that we're hiring to do that. So I'm very interested in hearing what they have to say and how we look at it. And I am almost positive that our current legal counsel is for this also, a review of the bills. And BBK over the years after every request has given us many, many updates for us to see and come up with ways to save. So I am interested in people that do review legal bills for municipalities because they might have some suggestions. And as Councilmember James pointed out, they may have some ideas of ways that we could do things, or we might find out that we're doing them just fine. You know, I don't know. So I would be willing to be on it.
Okay.
Person.
As would I. And my only addition to the staff recommendation would be that that committee then, whatever you want to call it, shepherd or oversee the process and get periodic reports back from whatever vendor we select.
Yeah, okay. I think staff will be able to figure that out
Yeah.
easily, but we're definitely on a time limit here, so we've got to get it going. So my motion, if the other council members agree, does anyone else have anything else to say on it?
Nope.
You're pandering to my vote, so make a motion.
Well, I don't know that we need a motion, but I'll make a motion that Councilmember James, Councilmember Ward be on the subcommittee to elicit contracts to look at our legal fees from, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Is it Deloitte?
Deloitte?
Yeah. Thank you. Deloitte Legal Management Consulting, Management Partners, and RSG.
Okay, do we have a second? Perfect. City Clerk, could you please do the roll call?
Councilmember Ham,
Aye.
Councilmember James,
Aye.
Councilmember Ward,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
I'm a no.
Okay. That motion carries 3-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is oral communications part 2. I don't have anything to read unless Laura's received something.
We have received a couple of comments. First from Debbie Zonos. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson and City Council members. I'm writing to you to express my deep concern with the number of youth under the age of 15 that are riding and operating electric bikes, especially in Talega. I have on numerous occasions throughout various times of the day witnessed them riding on the sidewalks, in the bike lanes, using the left turn lane to turn alongside automobiles. You find them riding in tandem, you see them on their cell phone, and some are riding without helmets. They are not only endangering themselves, but also pedestrians and motorists. I would like to see if the council could make an ordinance, if there is not already one, specifying where these electric bikes can be ridden and possibly providing an age restriction as to their use. Next comment is from Rick Leffler. I would like to resurrect a topic that was first brought up to council in January. This is the topic of a citywide smoking ban. This item was agendized by Mayor Pro Tem Dan Bain. The proposal was sent to the Beaches and Parks Committee for review and recommendation. I attended and spoke at that meeting, and after some deliberation, the Beaches and Parks Committee sent a recommendation back to council that they approve a citywide smoking ban in San Clemente. The matter never made it back on the agenda, possibly due to the COVID outbreak. Then Mayor Dan Bain left our city, and the smoking ban proposal disappeared. What has not disappeared is the public health threat caused by smoking and secondhand smoke. 480,000 people die per year due to smoking-related illnesses. 40,000 people a year die per year from secondhand smoke. This number represents innocent people who do not smoke but are affected by people who do. There will be far more children who die from secondhand smokers than ever die from COVID. I'm shocked that Governor Newsom, who seems so concerned about the safety of our kids, has not already passed a statewide ban, but he probably receives lots of money, as do most politicians, from the tobacco lobby. I have over 500 wet signatures from San Clemente residents who support the ban. I know there are even more online signatures that have been received. It's time. Other Orange County cities have already passed the ban. Please put this issue back on the agenda. Listen to the public and then abide by their desire to ban smoking, including vaping, in all public areas of San Clemente. Rick Leffler, member, San Clemente Public Safety Committee. And that is all we have for oral communications part 2.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Under reports, city manager.
Thank you, City Clerk. Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson and City Council members, the only thing I have to update, and it's perfect timing, I know we had a public comment with regards to e-bikes. There have been a number of communications both to the city and to the Sheriff's Department expressing concern of safety as it relates to e-bikes. And I want to commend Lieutenant Manhart, who's putting together an educational program to educate e-bike users in the city of San Clemente. And this will consist of, bicycle helmet awareness and other safety things. And I know that the City Council had deliberated on e-bikes some time ago, and the City Council resulted in a speed limit, I believe, if I recall correctly, 12 miles per hour. And so we're going to communicate that through public safety messages. And again, OCSD will be doing a campaign to educate the riders of e-bikes to really work on ensuring a safe environment. With that, that's all I have to report on today. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
I have a question for the city manager.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting a lot of mail on the beach parking impact fee. A lot of mail on it. Can you give me some round numbers on what's going on? What percentage has the city paid? How much longer does the city have? How much longer the citizens, taxpayers, homeowners have to request those funds? And what are we doing to get those funds to those homeowners?
Good question. So if you recall, when the initial court order came to the city of San Clemente to refund roughly a little over $8 million in BPIF refunds, the city engaged BNY Mellon to be the processor of those refunds. And so BNY processed about 5,161 refund requests, and I think it's probably important for me to back up and cite, originally we had a total number of 6,495 property owners eligible for the refund. So with BNY processing roughly 5,200 of those, that was about 80% of the people that needed to be property owners that needed to be refunded. If you recall, BNY indicated that they would no longer provide that service. So when we, the city, took it over, and we have since, we've been processing it. We've processed 77 refunds to eligible property owners. As of, I want to say December, make sure I'm looking at my notes correctly, we're roughly at about 1.69 million left over of that original $8 million. We still have about 1,200 property owners eligible for refunds. And if you recall, earlier in 2020, we did a press release, and then we also did a direct market mailer to all of the property owners who had yet to come forward requesting the refund. So we did that, I want to say in February, March timeframe of notifying, maybe April, notifying all of those other property owners who hadn't requested the refund. The city's total, what we've refunded to date, is about $95,000 since we took it over from BNY. And if I recall, the court order sunsets the city in the latter part of 2021. So property owners still have ample time to come forward. We have on our website, if you go to our homepage and type in BPIF, it'll take you to a page dedicated that indicates the properties that are still outstanding for refund, and it provides the steps for those individuals to engage the city to begin that refund process.
Okay. In your opinion, have we met or exceeded the order from the court?
When you have 80% from BNY, and we've done about 19%, we're upwards of 85% close to closing the loop. And so this was a monumental task that had to be taken on by the city, keeping in mind that it had to go back to property owners on the tax roll of 2014. So that made it even more complex in dealing with that. I think the city's done a great job in doing everything possible to communicate to the appropriate eligible refund property owners for a refund. And so I'm happy with what action we have taken thus far.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Sund, and I appreciate you giving us an update on that. I did spend quite a bit of time on that to reignite that outreach process to reach people this year. And I know we do have kind of an unknown kind of category of over $200,000 of people that did not have good records, you know, within the city internally that we really need to address. And there is one person who has provided ample documentation that maybe Mr. James can help me in getting her refund, because she's still waiting for hers. It was about 200,000 plus of those homes that didn't have the good records, but ample records are, you know, the deed and when you owned your home. So when you were on the tax roll, which was the tax roll of January 2014, and then you have to live on the east side of the freeway, and it's pretty easy to demonstrate whether you're eligible or not. So, but anyway, but I do appreciate staff making that effort in sending the postcard out and doing the press release. That's really good, because these people are really happy. I heard from a resident 2 weeks ago who said he even got a call from the city staff, which was wonderful. He'd never heard of this before, and he got his refund, which was about $930. So that's a really great extra step that's being taken to reach people. It's hard to reach people, but we have to do our best. It's you know, money in their pockets at a time they need it the most. So thank you so much. Are there any other questions of City Manager Erickson, interim City Manager?
Councilmember Ward.
Please, Councilmember Ward.
We're under council comments, are we not?
We're almost. We were asking questions of the interim City Manager.
Oh, okay.
So we're now, there are no further questions and discussion with him on those items. Mr. James just brought up an item. We're on to City Attorney next, and then we'll be on council comments.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. I have nothing more that I need to add tonight. Thanks for the chance.
Thank you, City Attorney. All right. So now we're on council members. Council member comments.
Mayor Pro Tem, this is Councilmember Ward.
Please.
And I would like to direct staff with the comment that Lieutenant Menhart is educating people on e-bikes. I think there needs to be some education on golf carts and underage drivers. We are seeing that in Southwest quite a bit. I think COVID and people being at home and businesses not being open has kind of made people think that they can do things that they don't normally do, that this is an open period, but underage drivers on the streets in golf carts, I believe, is a vehicle code violation. So I would like to see if the lieutenant could do that and maybe educate the public of what the requirements are and what the enforcement would be if they are found. Because I think it's just dangerous for underage drivers to be driving those. It's a danger for themselves. They don't have the safety equipment on the golf carts, and I don't want to see a bad accident. So I think that is something that we need to add. And then I have one other comment. I'd like to make a motion and direct staff to bring to City Council in closed session a discussion of confidential records for the City Council to discuss issues of confidential records and when or how they might be disclosed. But I would like to see a council discussion on that.
I'll second that motion and just add into that the release of information to council members and how we go about that as well.
Okay, that's a good add. Thank you. So whatever staff thinks we need to talk about to cover that subject, I think it's timely that we discuss that.
Thanks, Councilmember Ward. Very good. I have a couple of things regarding the e-bikes education on that. I want to do a shout out to resident Melissa McCready Phelps. She actually came to me to suggest that, and I told her when I worked at the Oceanside Police Department, we had a bicycle safety fair every year by the police department, obviously. So I'm really happy to see that Chief Manhart took that on to assign to the crime prevention officer to get that rolling. So that's really great. And I love, Councilmember Ward, your idea to educate on the golf carts, because I see that here in Talego where I live all the time, and it's really dangerous. The number of kids goes golf cart hanging on, going fast, as fast as a golf cart can go, that it's dangerous. So that's a very suggestion. Oh, and I talked to the city attorney about this item because I was on the Orange County Mayor's call last week, so it wasn't time to bring up at the prior meeting, but nor did I want to make a decision on behalf of the council. I don't know where you stand, but the Orange County Mayor's call, it's every week, and there was a suggestion by Mayor Goodall of Mission Viejo to have a joint letter with multiple cities that were interested in appealing the numbers, the RENA numbers, the regional housing needs allocation numbers, that they're very unrealistic for cities that are built out or near built out. And we talked a little bit about this at the Joint Planning Commission and City Council meeting, in which Council members Ward and James participated, as well as myself. And I believe currently in our current housing element, I think we have a couple of hundred, a little over 200 that are, we need to address in terms of zoning, right? We don't build them. We can assist with the in lieu fees money, but we don't actually build them. We have to zone for them. And then the next cycle, it's just over 1,000 units. And where do you put them in a built out town? So I was looking to agendize that for the next meeting, if I could have one member support me in placing that on the next agenda.
Just to be clear, you want the letter in opposition, right? On the agenda?
It would be, we'd have to get the letter from them. They're drafting it, but yes, I would bring it back to oppose these unrealistic numbers to add to your community.
Yeah, I'm supportive of that.
Okay, thanks, Councilmember Ham. All right, well, thank you. That's all I have. And Councilmember Ham, Councilmember James, do you have some council comments?
Chris, go ahead.
No, I just want to say that Gene and I met with, I guess we already did the hospital update earlier. Did we do the hospital update, Gene?
Yeah, we did a hospital update.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to say thanks to staff for all the hard work they've been putting in the last few months, and we'll see you guys in the next meeting.
Okay, so I have a couple things. I have 3 things, actually, that I'd like to get some support on. There's a program called Track It, and it's a product the city already owns. It resides on a number of functions within the city, but one of the things that I really would like to see, and for anyone that's been at City Hall over the past few months since COVID, all you got to do is look at the little shelves and cubbies that we have outside and see all the plans and that sit outside for an entire day. As we recover from COVID, we really need to do everything we can to help the business community, particularly as it relates to contractors and their ability to get plans and permit, to submit plans and get permits. And this program that the city is already working on actually has SB2 funding attached to it, and it would make the planning and permitting process of the city absolutely paperless. It would all be online, and I would like to get council's support to have our IT folks come at the next meeting and do a presentation on this product, and with the intent to have a motion at that time to have the city manager fast track this this particular product or this particular program, I should say, in order to really streamline our planning and permitting process. Can I have a second on that?
So, Jean, can I ask if you're up for a clarification or a change on that?
Sure.
I'm okay with staff looking into it and bringing it back to us because there's going to be a lot of moving parts on it. What I'm worried about is the comment of fast tracking it. I think once it comes back, and if we like it, then we say, let's fast track it. So I just want to know if you would do that amendment, and then I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I meant.
Okay, so I'll second that. It's an interesting thing, but what I want to hear from staff is all of the issues or problems that we might have. I'm concerned with things being missed, little items that make a big difference because we're not looking at a set of plans. But if our staff tells us that it can all be done, I'm open to hearing it. So I'll second that.
Yeah, and not only do I think Brian needs to come from an IT perspective, but Cecilia needs to be here as well I want to get her support with this as well. And interim city manager, do you agree with that?
Completely agree. I think Cecilia can speak to the process standpoint, and then Brian can speak to the project implementation timelines as it relates to that project. So it's perfect.
Thank you.
And city manager, I think the cost would be important too.
Yes. However, what we'll be able to present to the council as part of that presentation is we've already budgeted for the project, so it's in the queue to be done and the money's there. And we'll also update the council. We did get grant revenue to offset that cost to the city. So in essence, that grant has actually freed up some general fund money, one-time general fund money to provide a cost savings, but we'll present that in the special presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I call for a vote.
You just need a two-member consensus to bring that back, Councilmember. I think you've got
Okay, got it. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
and I'm supportive as well too, so that way staff has majority support.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So the second thing I have is what's called the flock. Let me spell that for you. FLOCK. And it is a license plate reader system that's already in place in Lake Forest and Stanton, where license plates are read coming in and out of the city. And it is it's not a capital project. It's not something we purchase. It's something that we bought, we lease, and we have a service that we pay for. It's $2,500 per camera. And again, it's something that I would like Brian to go to the Public Safety Committee and brief the Public Safety Committee and get this moving sooner rather than later. And interim city manager, this is in the budget as well, is it not, or it's not in the budget?
This is currently not budgeted. So once the Public Safety Committee deliberated on recommendations to be provided to the council, staff would do a fiscal review of costs and provide that fiscal analysis to the council for deliberation.
Can I have one member's support to look at this, please?
So my concerns is I know this was discussed with our past lieutenant, and I think there were some issues with it. I think before I could support it going to the Public Safety Committee, I think those have to be addressed to the council maybe, because I'm not sure, I can't remember what those issues were, but there's a reason why we did not institute this.
I think that was an old system. That's not this system.
Gene?
Yes.
If I may, I hear what you're trying to do, and I appreciate the thought behind trying to secure potential felons or stolen vehicles or things of that nature. But for me, I think it's a step too far in terms of our rights as American citizens to be tracked and have that be available to the public. So, you know, last time we looked at this, I think all that information went into a database. In the database, you could run a PRA and determine, you know, when was Gene James at this intersection and when was Gene James at this intersection.
Chris, I have an answer. I have an answer for that. It's not subject to PRA. It's not data that we have. It's data that this company has, and so it's not subject to a PRA request.
Well, that's a good step in the right direction. What are your thoughts about asking staff to get a white paper to us about it, and we can have some more information, then we can determine if we want to move forward on it?
I'm absolutely fine with that.
Eric, is that okay with you?
It's absolutely fine with me as well. Thank you.
Okay, great. So in regards to white papers, there's my last thing is I'd like to have a white paper produced on beach hours. Our beach hours are not consistent with other communities in the area, not consistent with the state park. Consequently, it leads to some problems, particularly in T Street. So I would like staff to do a white paper on beach hours. Additionally, it's my understanding that our beach hours have never been approved by the Coastal Commission, so we're kind of in a state of limbo. Chris, would you support me on a white paper on beach hours?
Absolutely, Gene. And the direction you want to go with this to limit nuisance activities at the beach after hours, I think is a great idea. My concern is just that we wouldn't be able to control our hours of operation moving forward with the Coastal Commission, but let's have white paper done on it. Let's see where staff's at. Maybe Coastal's taken a different direction since we've looked at this last time. So
very good. Thank you for your support. That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem.
I'll do the second readings. So I move that we adopt ordinance number 1704 entitled Ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Clemente, California, amending Chapter 17.28.185 of the San Clemente Municipal Code relating to massage establishments and finding the ordinance exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
Second. City Clerk, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Councilmember James.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
Okay. Carries 4-0.
Thank you, City
We
Clerk.
adjourn to the next regular council meeting is scheduled to take place on October 6, 2020. Closed session is considered at 5 p.m. and the regular business meeting will commence at 6 p.m. The meeting will take place via teleconference.
Second.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both. City Clerk?
Councilmember Ham.
Aye.
Councilmember James.
Aye.
Councilmember Ward.
Aye.
And Mayor Pro Tem Ferguson.
Aye.
Carries 4-0.
All right. Thank you all.
Good night.